Overall, I kind of dig it, but it could be.
Son, what are you watching there?
Well, Dad, it's Larry Arts Productions, home to many types of content, including stop motions, reviews, unboxings, and other types of videos.
I knew getting the internet for my kid was a mistake.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on a Monday night. It's the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. It's playoff action, and tonight, it's the cutoff race. Who will move on to the round of 12? 4 drivers will not be moving forward, as we started with 16 drivers just a week ago. Crazy to think how fast the playoffs swing on through. But tonight, it is time for that of the Pretty Southern Colors 225 this evening, as the drivers take on one of the more interesting tracks. Funnest one for me to commentate over, it's Homestead Miami Speedway, where drivers could be going 2, 3, and sometimes 4 wide on how to conquer this course and how to make some big moves. We're proud to give you all the coverage again here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me on this great adventure tonight is going to be Zach Hall. Zach, welcome to the cutoff race for the round of 16.
It's that time, Sam. It's time for drivers to turn up and bring everything they've done throughout the week here to get prepared and get out here and get a result, because that's what's going to push them through to that round of 12. And, you know, Homestead, like you said, being one of your favorite tracks to call a race on, I got to agree with that 100%, man. This track always puts on a show. This will be the 3rd time they've been here at ISRC. I haven't only missed it in one of their previous seasons. So this track is fairly familiar to a lot of these drivers, and it should put on quite the show, I believe.
That one race is going to be season 1. Season 2, when they were here, it was the championship race on that of seeing Trenton Jump get to his championship, and GT Rosari getting his first ever win in the ISRC Truck Series. Season 3, it was the 2nd race of the season, and we got probably one of the most dramatic finishes, seeing Cedric Hunter steal it on a last corner pass. So dramatic flair known at this course, as the drivers are getting done with qualifying. Currently, it's Noah Steele, one of our 4 drivers that are outside looking into the tonight, who is going to be having the pole award at this current moment. The drivers still have 55 seconds left in qualifying, and right now, driver that's not top of the board, surprising to say, Zach, it's not Mark Whitley, who's down in 4th.
That is surprising to say. Looking at the timesheets coming in from practice, we expected the 77 to maybe top the timing sheets here, but those practice times can be skewed. Sometimes you get the draft, sometimes you get a track condition that is just that much better than your competition out there, so it's kind of hard to judge. And right here in this qualifying session, though, Noah Steele doing exactly what he needed to do and pulling himself out of the depths here to possibly go get some great stage points to allow him to get out of that bottom cut 4 and move up into that 12th position, or in one of the 12th positions in the round of 12.
Right now, we've got that of 6 drivers that are very close to one another in points. That's going to be tied for 11th place. Dakota Moniz and Cody Reed. That's where our cutoff point is, with a 7-point advantage over GT Irizarry, 13th in points. Tied with 14th, going to be Tyler Dengler and Noah Steele, and that of Joshua Kanata, 16 points out to Cody Reed and Dakota Moniz. But mentality-wise, feels like he's in a must-win scenario coming into tonight, where we have got 16 drivers that are in the playoffs currently, but 26 going to be racing here tonight. Plenty of points to be grabbed, and plenty of points that can be bouncing you out of the playoffs if you're already in. But those drivers that are looking out, we've got some fast ones, and we'll see how well they can race here this evening. As the drivers are gritting up, let's take a look at where our starting results are going to be for tonight's race. As the drivers take the pole award, Noah Steele in the 8 machine. Again, one of those drivers looking in the outside, needing a good run. What a great way to start it out in first with the pole. Nick Crawford, who is outside. Danny Cochran, who got the pole back in season 2, going to be in 3rd. Mark Whitley, who got the pole last season, was in a starting park last season. We'll see how the 77 can perform this evening. John Forbes hoping for some magic here tonight, because he's had some terrible luck here in the past. Malik Kuntz going to be in 6th. GT Rosari going to be in 7th, with Joshua Kanata in 8th. 9th's going to be Ethan Smith, and Cody Reed finishing out our top 10.
In the 11th position, it's going to be the 72 with Jonathan Smith. Followed alongside him in 12th, it's going to be the 38 of Christopher Norris. 13th position, going to go to the 5 of Dakota Moniz, with 14th being the 29 of Logan Brakey. 15th is going to go to Matt Upbrook. 16th is going to be Ali Fonseca. 17th is going to go to the 51 of Ryan Ferraro, with 18th going to Eric Stamp. 19th for Tyler Dingland, 19. And rounding out the top 20 is Justin Smith.
And Cody Smith going to be in 21st spot, with Austin Halsey in 22nd. Joshua Altus going to be in 23rd. Mark Morales going to be in 24th. Brian Crowfoot going to be in 25th. And Joshua Freed finishing out our 26 drivers here tonight. Well, tonight's race, again, cutoff race, there's 16 drivers that entered the playoffs, and here they are. The way that they're going to be laid is we're about to get ourselves back to green flag coverage. Mark Whitley, because he's starting out here tonight, going to be locked into the playoffs for next round. Trenton Jump winning last week. He's locked in. The rest of the 14 drivers, unknown. A lot of them in better spots than others. Danny Cochran with a 24-point advantage, going to be in third. Ethan Smith going to be fourth in points with an 18-point advantage. And other drivers, and oh my goodness, Zach, trouble already. Danny Cochran, Mark Whitley, already carnage.
Oh no, this is a wreck in the middle of turn 1 and 2. And those are the two drivers that didn't really have too many worries coming tonight, except for Danny Cochran, who's close to it, Sam. And right now, Mark Whitley, a good bit of damage, and same for Danny Cochran on the nose.
Mark Whitley trying to warm up his tires in the middle of the corners, decides to wipe out his competition. Not a lot of damage to the 2 machine, nor the 77, but certainly a scare. As the driver's getting a little bit more warmed up on those tires than others. We'll see how much of an advantage that's going to be, or will it be a disadvantage, as we'll have to run down the points another time, because we're about to get to green flag racing here this evening. Pace car is off into the Geico restart zone as we are green for the Pretty Southern colors. 225. No, Steele. Nick Crawford trying to make that inside and outside lane work, as the chaos already struck before we were green, but loose conditions at 74 bouncing up, and the rest of the field trying to hold on.
And he's wrecking into the front, or into the turn 1 and 2 wall there, sliding back down in front of the track as Martin Morales barely scaves by him. But what an opening sequence we just had here at Homestead. And luckily for Nick Crawford, not too much damage, along with Danny Cochran also didn't really catch much damage from that incident on the pace lap. So 2 of the drivers in the playoffs luckily getting out of there. But man, Sam, this is not what I expected coming into the start.
I mean, if we look back to season 2, there was a massive big one that struck at that race on lap 1, coming out of the exit of turn 2. But loose conditions, Zach, has been the talking point all week long. This track is at the coldest it's been for most drivers. 76 degrees is the track temp. Some drivers have been practicing with it being in the mid to low 80s, so a much cooler track temp. And some drivers maybe not used to this cooler tires.
It is going to catch him out off guard all night long, I think. We're going to see the loose condition be a trend pretty much off of 2 and off of 4 all night long as the run continues on. But it's going to be those moments that we just saw with Nick Crawford there, that it just snaps in the middle of the corner and you're trying to catch it the whole time and fight that truck. That's when those tires are cold. They're just not gripped up to the point where they need to be in that perfect temperature range. And man, oh man, that just changed the complexion of how this all starts off. And Nick Crawford, I mean, he had to be feeling, somewhat confident coming into tonight's race, especially with that qualifying job there he did. And man, now this is going to set him back. He's going to have to try to methodically work his way back forward without getting in any trouble.
All right, now let's see if the driver's going to cool off. Let's try to do the rundown once again of where the drivers are in points coming into tonight. Now, Noah Steele, luckily, because he's up front with the caution that came out quickly, he's going to be getting that already bonus point for leading a lap. So good on this 8 machine for that. But Mark Whitley, Trenton Jump, they've already started here tonight. Both of them are locked into the next round. Trenton Jump because of his win at last week at Daytona Road Course. Mark Whitley because he just had so many points that he carried from the regular season. Danny Cochran comes in with a 24-point advantage over that of GT Irizarry. And now Noah Steele, both of them are tied with being 7 points out. Then Ethan Smith, going to be 18 points to the good. Then we're going to be falling down to Logan Brakey and Nick Crawford, both being 17 points to the good going into the next round. John Forbes, 15 points to the good. Christopher Norris, 13 points. Matt Upbrook, 11 points to the good. Ali Fonseca, 10 points. Then the 2 drivers that are at the cutoff line, Dakota Moniz and Cody Reed, both tied with a 7-point advantage over GT Irizarry. Tyler Dangler, going to be 14th in points with a -8. And with that, Noah Steele, before he led that lap, he was -8 points, trying to get into that of our playoffs for the next round. And Joshua Kanata, 16 points out. He needs practically a win with the amount of drivers that are here, or a fantastic points day from leading laps and also getting the stage. But Zach, certainly a mouthful. And luckily during that rundown, we didn't see someone wrecking under pacing.
We are lucky for that for sure, Sam. That caught both of us off guard there. I kind of saw it happen and was kind of even mind blown that what I was seeing was going down. So, interesting scenes happening, but the points right there, like you said, man, they're so tight and close between that group. I mean, from fourth on back in the points, or fourth on to that cut line, it's less than 20 points separating that group. I mean, that is a mind-blowing figure to have, and it just shows you got to get to this first stage. That'll give some of these drivers who are in that teen, of number, range of where they're on that cut line. If they can get stage points compared to the guys under that cut line, they'll have a little bit more comfortability going into the rest of this race. But already with the shaky start like this has got to have the nerves at an all-time high.
It certainly is. I mean, drivers now stacking up with one another. A couple of drivers coming into pit road, either get damage repair or just topping off on fuel. Going to be that of Mark Morales and Nick Crawford still coming into pit road, get repairs done. Eric Stamp, 53. He had seen the trends shown. Early cautions are known here in the ISRC at Homestead. So the 53 actually started on pit road to watch those exchanges happen. So certainly a wild start to tonight's race, but Zach, still a chance that we could see another crazy wreck here at the start because it was just one driver that got loose. We didn't get enough of a trend of green flag runs, so these tires going to be even colder than the last restart.
You are seeing these drivers here, Sam, work these trucks back and forth. You can see them throwing it left to right, slowing down, speeding up, because they're trying to build some heat into these tires. They know that these pace laps here after that green flag, they're just straight back to another caution. These tires are at an all-time coldness, and right now in the one, it's going to be even that much more treacherous. So we'll see, does another mistake pop up here for one of the playoff drivers, or do they make it through safely here to stage one?
Well, here we go. Noah Steele going to be leading the charge on the inside in that Color Teals graphics machine. Danny Cochran on the outside lane and his Larry Art Productions number 2 ready for the restart here. Can we make it a lap? Let's find out as we're heading down into turn number 1. And Danny Cochran already ducking down low, trying to set up for the entry of turn number 1. Rest of the field, where will they be as they enter now the center of 1 and 2?
Center of 1 and 2, like you said, they're now Xing off of 2, and right now, Noah's still doing a great job of what he did there. Everybody clean through 1 and 2 for the most part, but it's Mark Whitley with the damage on the nose, immediately diving to the inside of Danny Cochran there and showing maybe that damage is not having too much of an effect on that 77 yet.
Not the damage that maybe he wanted to grab early on, but certainly speed is there for the 77 machine. We never got to see the true aspect of Mark Whitley's speed here at Homestead last season. He was only able to run about 30 laps, and he led practically every single lap after getting the pole award. The 77 looks quick even tonight, as he had to do a start and park last week because he was last season because he was running in a different league.
That he did, Sam, and right now already challenging for the lead, just showing what Mark Whitley does. He does not waste no time. He goes out there and tries to get to clean air and lead as many laps as possible because he feels like that puts him in the best position for later in these races, and it usually works out that way, especially with the role he's on.
Trying to hold steady is Mark Whitley leading that lap, and it's a good one to have as that's going to be adding another bonus point to his hand. But going to be the battle for second place. Noah Steele, Danny Cochran blinking terribly, and this is the worst we've seen it be as he's almost door banging the 8 machine, looking like maybe the 2 doesn't really fully know where the other vehicles are on track.
It's very possible that that's the condition that we're seeing there from him. It's just going to slide up and make the pass there, as you can see from the onboard shot here from the 11 machine of John Ford sitting here in the 4th position. And to his inside, as it's starting to stack up here on the front straight with the draft, Kanata now in the 16 has got below him, so this has pushed Forbes up the racetrack. We'll see how he can fight back here in 1 and 2.
And Joshua Kanata inside lane, one of the rookie sensations of this season, came in with a lot of confidence into the playoffs. Kind of shocked at the fact that he made it here with the 16, hoping for his consistent run from the regular season to carry over. Not a great run last week as he was caught up in some trouble at the road course at Daytona. We stay in Florida, and maybe some luck has changed. It's 16 and 5th place. Again, a win or some massive points to be gained can change the fate of this 16 machine, and that's why he's challenging as hard as he is up here in the top 5. But Zach, drivers outside of our top 5 starting to get a little mixy.
That they really are. Here's Cody Reed in the 25. He's in the 9th position there. He's got a heavy group of hungry drivers right behind him. Jonathan Smith along with Christopher Norson, the 38 there. You can see on that bottom groove trying to make the pass forward here to move himself into that 10th position, because Christopher Norris here coming in here with a good a good sizable gap there with 13 points. But if he can go out here and get some stage points, that'll make him feel even that much more comfortable heading into the rest of this race.
72 will jump the smoke, rushing up against that outside wall, making him go backwards. But Christopher Morris, I mean, what a run that he had. But if we got to talk about anyone having a heroic run from last week, Matt Uppbeat, this 15 machine. I mean, Zach, a lot of people had him written off as maybe one of the first sure drivers not to be able to make it into the round of 12. Well, he is right now very comfortably in the middle of this field in points-wise after a spectacular finish last week at Daytona Road Course.
He's been on pretty much a 2-week streak now of, bettering himself for these playoffs. I mean, he came off the 10th place to finish the week before that at Bristol. I mean, that is just an excellent job. Then he goes into the playoffs there at the Daytona Road Course, gets a top 5. And, yeah, like you said, I think he was probably the first driver, even in my mind, I'd hate to say it, that I had written off as one of the drivers I felt like may get eliminated in this round. He's changed that whole perception, and right now with a 12th place run so far at Homestead, he's continuing that trend of competing towards the front half of the field.
And a top 10 finish for this 15 could be just enough to make sure that he's into the next round of the playoffs. Running in 12th is still good enough as right on board 15. See in front Christopher Morris giving up that position, still trying to set up how to get by Cody Reed. But as we are 13 laps in to 150 here tonight, we do still have a stage break. Those are where some big points can be grabbed. As if you win the stage, you get 10 points. Second position at the stage gets 9. It continues to dwindle down by 1 position at 1 point. After that, they get down to 10th place. We only get 1 point. And Zach, that stage break at lap 60 for these drivers.
Lap 60 indeed, Sam, and guess what? We cannot make it on fuel. We can go about 50 to 51 laps here on a tank of fuel. We did have that caution, but that caution not going to enable them to stretch it that far, in my opinion. We're going to have some people as we got a caution.
And it's going to be further in the back. Austin Halsey in the 99 colorful machine. Going to be bringing out this wreck. And Zach, you're talking on that point of the fuel run. This is going to be right in that fuel run window they're looking for.
This right here will open that door up, Sam. I tell you, we may see some drivers be takers when it comes to pit road. And it's crazy to say to put a set of tires on this early, but for some of the drivers that need points, you may have to just take that risk right now to hope that the rest of this run runs green. Because if it does, you don't have to pit, and the other drivers that decide to just come down and get fuel only, they're going to be at a massive disadvantage when it comes to tires. So a lot of decisions to be made while we check out what exactly went down there on that back straightaway.
And Zach, I'm looking at Mark Whitley, our leader, in that tire difference. If you do decide to come into pit road, you have to be about a half a second faster if you take your tires compared to those that are going to be staying out and not taking tires. So that's a big gamble, but it might be worth it if you're one of those drivers that really need big stage points to make it into the next round.
All types of split decisions being made, but it's going to be this instant replay here with a 99. You see Halsey here on the bottom, the 94 up top. Looks like Halsey tracking up the racetrack, maybe even Halsey coming down a little bit. So two drivers just going for similar real estate there. And that's when you have an incident that happens on a straightaway where two drivers just kind of go for the same spot.
As two drivers that have been doing part-time racing this season, and it really starts to tighten up on the exit of these corners if you're not careful, as both drivers able to at least stay mostly off the outside wall, so not extra damage given, so no required damage for those, and they'll be able to continue to race on. Interesting calls, though, on track. There are a handful of drivers deciding to take 4 tires and fuel. The rest of the field deciding to take fuel or not at all. Our top 7 all staying out on track. I take that back. Our top 8, as Nick Crawford, last time he was in pit road, was under our first caution, but our top 7 have not pitted at all here tonight.
Well, Sam, this kind of opens up Pandora's box now here for these drivers because, with the 2 yellows here, that makes it a little bit more doable when it comes to getting to that lap 60 for a green flag run. You may have to do a little bit of saving, though, because you got to think usually these laps equate to about a half a lap under pacing that you would do under green. So you save a ton of fuel here under these caution laps, but I don't know if you're going to be able to save 10 laps necessary worth off just 2 yellows. We'll have to see. I mean, if you're extremely out there, cutting the truck off, letting it roll, and shutting it back on, you can save tons of amount of fuel. So we could see someone try to stretch it that didn't pit here. But I like the strategy in the middle of taking that fuel there to make sure you can make it to the end. No worries there, and you'll be able to be in a much better position. But we also had some drivers take tires, like you were saying, and that is going to make them much quicker. So we're going to have a very, very interesting restart here, I'd have to say the least, because everybody's going to be that much more stacked up on top of each other and going and willing to go up there and get those points, because we know what's on the line here after this race.
Well, once again, based off of how last week's trend went, no surprise, Mark Whitley doing the opposite of what the other faster drivers are doing. He's deciding to take tires, and drivers that need points taking tires as well. Joshua Kanata taking tires for the 16 back in 18th place, as well as Dakota Moniz in 21st position, Ryan Ferraro, Joshua Freed, Cody Smith, and Austin Halsey all taking tires and fuel deeper in the field. But the only playoff drivers taking tires, Mark Whitley, Dakota Moniz, and Joshua Kanata. Watch out how those three want to take off here as the pace car pulls off. Stage break at lap 60, but will we have another yellow before then, as we're back to green flag racing here tonight for the pretty Southern Colors 225.
Danny Cochran loves staying out for this moment right now. We'll see how well it works out for the two machines. He gets a great start and gets straight to the lead, but it's Malik Kuntz in the 98. He's trying to get up here and make some noises. He's gotten past the 8-0 still, and along with him, GT Arzari's following. So multiple drivers here needing good runs right up here in the top 5.
Needing good runs, and up front our top 10 all trying to stay in line with one another and try to cause and make a wall if possible to slow down that of Mark Whitley and others that will try to cruise their way through this field slowly, methodically. But how fast will we see those Joshua Kanata and others willing to put themselves in danger, as we've seen puffs of smoke? And Zach, for these playoff drivers, you got to make sure you stay off that wall, because there's actually a bonus point to be grabbed for 0 incidents.
That there is. You got to stay out of that wall. Do not get involved in wrecks, and that one bonus point could come back to be what pushes you through. So you need every little point that matters out there, and that is definitely one of them. Also, to keep your truck that much more clean. But look at this. Here comes Mark Whitley, the first one on the set of tires, and he's flying up through as he's going to pass Christopher Norris and now have a run here on John Forbes and cut to the inside.
That's to the inside. That other driver that was running the outside groove in the black and white, that was Joshua Kanata. As you see the 6 of Justin Smith trying to hold on, and oh no, it's going to be Joshua Kanata, and it looks to be the 72 of Jonathan Smith getting into one another. Kanata could not afford that incident, and the 16 having to back off. Oh no! More engine striking as the 27 and others colliding with one another. We stay green.
Somehow we did stay green there, and that was interesting. I think maybe Kanata feeling his displeasure there and got into the 72, and that caused a huge stack up that I think was just meant to be a door rub and let him know he wasn't happy. It turns out to be a giant wreck here. Crowfoot and the 72 of Jonathan Smith here are well behind the pack.
Well behind this wreck, well under pace, and the damage you can see there on the 72 of Jonathan Smith. Oh, that is terrible to see, and I get where Joshua Kanata is upset, but you cannot be retaliating like that on track, especially with the amount of drivers that are around you. That could have also influenced Dakota Moniz, who's trying to make his way and to stay inside of the playoffs, but we stay green, and we'll see how the admins want to deal with that after this race.
That'll be a decision for them for sure, Sam, and even, that hit there, I mean, it damaged his truck a good little bit. I mean, even because he got put back into the outside wall after he hit him. So, it could have been just a quick, bit of damage that he needed to get fixed up. Now it's a ton of damage on the left and right side. So for Kanata, he's going to have to think about that one for sure. And more to be discussed about that one later. But right now, still got crazy battles going on because Mark Whitley, he's doing the charge right now. The 77, you can see that white machine up top there on the outside. He's just ripping past people here and making his way easily through the field.
And just showing what it's like to have that of a 15-lap advantage on tires. 77 continues to stay on the outside groove, but that is something that Zach, yes, he's got the tires to make this outside lane work, but at some point, we actually could see these tires equalize with how much rubber the 77 is willing to just give up making these passes so quickly.
Like you said, the outside line, it's got its two different sides to it where, it's nice because no one's up there usually, blocking the lane off to make it where it's tough for you to go around. But the outside line can produce speed, but it also can produce a ton of tire wear. We've known that in the past. And if I'm Mark Whitley, I wouldn't be doing that too often, but with the advantage of tires that he has and the amount of laps here difference, I think he's going to be well off here, pretty good. But I can already see him. He is starting to work that wheel a lot, and it's starting to get a little bit loose in the 77 as he closes in here back to the lead.
Trying to catch up to that is Danny Cochran, who's going to go to the defensive lane and go to the outside, trying to keep that momentum up on the straightaways. As the goal for the 2 as Mark Whitley's trying to close in and maybe do a little bit of a slide job move. Not able to do so as they keep it side by side down into turn number 3. And Mark Whitley hoping he's got the grip and enough space to slide in front of the 2. He's got the space. He's sliding up. And here comes the crossover by the 2 machine of Danny Cochran, but he doesn't have the run just yet as he has to just stay in line and watch as the 77 continues to pull away.
Nothing really that 2 could do there. I mean, just the difference on the tires here is going to be that much bigger here as this run continues on, just because those tires are starting to warm up for Mark Whitley, and also Danny Cochran's are starting to warm up back to the bad range for him. So he's going to see definitely that 77 grows smaller in the front windshield, but at the moment, Danny Cochran just needs a solid stage finish here. Doesn't need to go out there and win it. He gets those 9 bonus points for finishing second. He'll be in a great position. His old GT Rosari there. Big loose from him there, Sam, as he's trying to make the move on Malik Kuntz, and GT needs every point he can get.
He really does, but GT is in that spot where he needs a caution to come out due to the fact that these drivers, we've got about 7 of them, that still need to come into pit road for one more time before this stage is done at the end of lap 60. You got Danny Cochran, Malik Kuntz, GT Rosario, Ollie Fonseca, Noah Steele, Tyler Dangler, and that Justin Smith all still need to come into pit road. Nick Crawford in that question mark area because he had that extra lap, extra caution, try to save a little bit. Out of the 74 could be in a better zone than those other drivers that have not been at all tonight.
If it does go green, that's going to play out that way, and it's going to make things that much more tough on that group. As we're checking out Tyler Dingler here right now in the 19 machine. He's right behind Nick Crawford, and Dingler running some good lap times here to be on this older set of tires, so he needs this. He needs to go up there and get as many stage points as possible, because that will allow him to be in a much better position when it comes down to this race, to have less of a positional gap. But you can see here, Ethan Smith, he just got past Justin Smith, and you got Christopher Norris there in the 38 machine. He's trying to break his way into stage points here. This would be huge for that 38.
Huge indeed for the 38 machine, who comes in tonight 8th in points, got a 13-point advantage over GT Azari. Now that's going to be bumped down, but some of those other drivers just trying to beat out. This is a great run for the 38, as it looks like that Justin Smith trying to make the pass for himself. And Zach, I got a question for you as we're coming up to the halfway point of this stage. As again, stage break at the end of lap 60. For that of Dakota Moniz, he's leading the second driver that decided to take tires. He's still back in 14th place. He has not moved up to 5, just staying in his position. I mean, if you're taking tires, I'm surprised that he still has not moved up.
I'm very surprised by that too, Sam. You gotta be, if you're Dakota here, you gotta get aggressive, in my opinion. You got the tire advantage. You see what Mark Whitley's done with his tire advantage, and it just seems like Moniz not able to create as much speed in that 5 there to go past these guys with ease. And you know, there still is a long way to go here in the stage, but you need to get what you can now, because if there is a caution that comes out, these guys are all going to come down the pit road, and you're going to be in a much tougher position when they come down to get their fresh tires. So if you're Moniz, you might as well use the tires you got and the advantage you have, because you need stage points as critically as possible. As he's got 2 playoff guys right in front of him, Cody Reed and Matt Upbrook. So this group right here all knows how critical this is.
Matt Upbrook going to try to make that pass easily, but Cody Reed with a little bit of crossover because the 25 takes the momentum, being on the outside on the exit turn 2. He throws it down low on trying to be aggressive here, as not able to make that pass just yet. Dakota Moniz trying his best to move forward. And behind Dakota, he's got Austin Halsey, Ryan Ferraro, drivers that were caught up in that last incident or previous incidences that are also dealing with slight damage. The 5, on the other hand, just decided to go with his straight tires. And as everyone just trying to settle in at this point, figure out where they want to go. We're past the halfway point of this stage break, and Austin Halsey, that 99, might have been caught up in that last incident, but he is on the go button right now.
Yeah, he's on this set of tires also, so he has the advantage that 5 in front of him has. We'll see if these two can kind of methodically work their way through as they're getting past Justin Smith, who's a little loose off the exit of 4, and he was coming down the racetrack there, and that was close to the quarter panel of that 99 machine. That could have been the second time tonight we've seen him placed into the outside wall there, as it's now Ferraro in the 51 making the nice clean pass on Justin Smith also.
the sun continues to set. Zach, that 6 looks to be making the same move once again of just breaking loose off the exit of the corner. As that of the 7 of Cody Smith able to breeze on by, and now Matt Upbrook going to be in a spot where he's got to figure out where to go, and Logan Brakey in the 29. Talked to Logan earlier. He felt pretty confident in tonight's run for that 29 machine and decided, you know what, let's just take it easy. And it feels like just a solid day. It's going to be enough, especially with the good points that he had after last week. It feels like, hey, if I just go for a top 15, top 10, I feel pretty comfortable that I'm going to be moving on to the next round.
That he should feel that way for sure. Right now, trying to make passes here and get past 50 and the 6. He's going to dive into the midway between them and cut through the middle. A great move by Logan Brakey there. That'll put him up to 16th at the moment. And with how many drivers are that close in front of him, he is not out of the realm here of getting stage points if he can keep up a nice, consistent pace.
Consistency on pace, and as we're seeing these drivers cycling their way through, this is again battling for 20th position is Justin Smith, driver that's leading those that decided not to take tires but to just take fuel. 8th place runner Christopher Norris going to be that driver. He just got by Ethan Smith. Exactly, we were touched on the fact that Christopher Norris was running some pretty good laps. Well, now he has gotten by the other driver that he was trying to beat out of Ethan Smith. He's in 8th place for the 38.
He is running fantastic, Sam, and some of the lap times he's turning are as quick as the 2nd place car of Danny Cochran, who's just got passed by GT as I say that, but it's just as fast as our top 3, and he's closing in very quickly on Noah Steele, Tyler Dingler, Fonseca. He could possibly get up into the top 5. This 38 showing a lot of pace, maybe put in a lot of preparation this week.
As we continue to watch this race, leader at the moment, Mark Whitley. I mean, Zach 4 seconds ahead of 2nd place of now GT Irizarry. GT in 2nd position. What a run he's trying to have here this evening. Again, won this race all the way back in season 2 when it was the championship run, beating out Trevor Earhart at that time, and was 14. Hoping to have similar magic that he had back then in season 2.
He really is. And right here, this battle between him and Danny continues on. I'm sure he would love to clear this 2 machine and just try to get up the road here from the score of these 2nd place stage points. But I think these two also, another thing we alluded to earlier, you got to worry about fuel for them and if they can actually make it with those 2 yellows we had. We'll have to see how that works out for them, but right now they're battling it up, and Malik Kuntz is loving this. He's about to try to drive up here for a top 2 position.
Malik Kuntz, one of those drivers who finally broke the curse of getting a top 10 finish for himself, as he's trying to continue on with that run. Kind of similar to the way that we see Matt Upbrook try to break his curses that he's had. As GT Irizarry, Danny Cochran continue to stay side by side. We're closing in on 20 laps to go before this stage is done. And we do have 2 official drivers out of the race. Ryan Crowfoot as well as Jonathan Smith look to be calling it a night after being involved with some retaliation of Joshua Kanata getting into Jonathan Smith after not happy with the contact that was made previous to that. So hate to see the contact in some of the racing that happened in the middle of this race so far, but at this moment, it has been great to see Homestead back on the schedule, as it always brings out some of the best racing in every single season that we've had it so far for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. As GT Irizarry, Danny Cochran, Malik Kuntz settle in. Middle of the pack, though, they are not settling at all. It's going to be Ethan Smith, Noah Steele, and Dakota Moniz. Zach finally moving forward.
Moniz, yes, taking advantage of that, what he had there, Sam. And look, right now, starting to really pounce here as he's starting to make the outside move here on this 8 machine. And Steele, who qualified so well by sitting on the pole position right now, in a tough position because it's going to be drivers like the 5 and even possibly the 11 trying to follow him through here. And can they make it on fuel? Are some of these guys who have, not pitted yet in this race, are they starting to back it down to save some fuel? That has got to be a question I think we got to ask ourselves and see if they can make it. Because if you're just a couple laps short, it's much better to save the fuel here and make sure you don't have to pit, because you could get a lap down possibly.
Certainly could get trapped a lap down. Nick Crawford trying to keep up with the pace that he's seen some of the drivers on the outside, but that is fresh rubber against old. And the patiency that maybe we were concerned about from these drivers that were lingering back on the top 20, but just were not going forward. Well, now they're showing that strength, allowing the other drivers warm up the tires just too far. And now you start to pounce as well as you're seeing drivers that are on similar set of tires still mixing and mingling with one another as John Forbes to the outside, stuck 3 wide with Austin Hawsley in the middle. Noah Steele to that inside groove. And still very aggressive here. They're stacked 3 wide on top of one another as they finally cycle along and get single filed out for this time being. I mean, this is one of those times where you need to be aggressive. That 51 that just passed everyone, he is that marker that everyone's aiming for.
He really is, man. This is this is going to be fun to see who can go up here and get these points. I mean, you got Nick Crawford. He's starting to make his climb back through the 74. He's back up to the 13th, past Noah Steele. He's got Halsey right ahead of him, John Forbes, and then Ryan Ferraro for that 10th position. This is going to come down to be a little bit of a mixy ending to the end of this stage, and drivers getting everything they can out of these trucks.
If you got any rubber left, you're going to be using all of it as we're closing in on 15 laps to go in this stage, but drivers starting to show a little bit of a wiggle here or there. Zach, I know you got to test out these trucks. The long run, how are these drivers and what are they feeling at this moment? As for some of them, have been out there for 40 laps in these tires, others for 20 laps.
It is a wide variety of different feelings. It kind of comes down to how you drive it, folks. You can really hurt your right front tire here at this racetrack. It is very easy to get very wound up and drive it in too deep. And when you get that condition of the right front tire going away, your truck's going to want to push out towards that wall. It's just not going to want to turn. You'll fight that by putting a little bit more steering wheel in, slowing the truck down that little bit more, and then that's when the rear end's going to start to fight you, because it's going to be at those slower speeds, less downforce being generated on the back end of the truck. You're going to want to over-rotate when you get to that gas, and that's what makes it so tough, because you fight 2 different conditions. You're tight in, loose off usually here at this racetrack, and it only gets worse as the laps go, and the drivers that haven't mastered and figure out how to make the balance of the truck just perfect are the ones that make speed at the end of these runs.
Some drivers making some massive speed, others calling it a night early. Another one sent to the garage. Eric Stamp has called it a night early for the 53 machine, which this is terrible news for that of Joshua Kanata, who's already dealing with a lot of damage from the 16. He's trying to just stay on the lead lap. But Zach, the less drivers that are there, I mean, the numbers don't line up for the 16 except for that mindset of a must win, which means with the damage 16 is dealing with, he might have to go with the oddball strategy of if he's going to win, he's going to need maybe this race to go green in some fashion and turn into a fuel mileage race. If Joshua Kanata is going to move on to the next round, because the points positioning, it's drifting away as we are coming up to that of 13 laps to go before this stage is done, and it's Mark Whitley leading, but Malik Kuntz has moved up into second, getting by GT Irizarry.
He has moved up into second, and I'm telling you, watching lap times, Mark Whitley is not too much quicker than these guys ahead of him. He's only running about a 10th faster right now than these drivers, so when we get on even set of tires, I still think it could be on between this group right here and Mark Whitley. And another X factor out there, I don't want to say it too early, but the 38 of Christopher Norris has got tremendous long run speed actually, and has been just as quick as our second and third place trucks. He's actually now looking to go around Fonseca, and then he'll have Danny Cochran up next for him. He could drive up to the top 4 here before this stage is over.
You would hope to drive up to the top 4, but he might have to fall back to where he's at right now, because he's being caught by the 5 Dakota Moniz, as well as Ryan Ferraro. Fresh tires getting into the mix here as the 51 and the 5 deciding to finally utilize the extra little bit of speed advantage that they have on the rest of the field. And the slow, methodical pace, maybe in the short term didn't look like it was going to work out, and maybe they're not going to get the big net gain that we've seen like that of Mark Whitley grab, but still a good surge for the 5 Dakota Moniz, who comes into tonight tied in that cutoff spot.
It's been so impressive to see how these tires are working their way forward. And like you said, the slow, methodical, method that they've taken, we probably weren't agreeing with it at first, but it's working well for him here. Is right now Danny Cochran in the 2. He's going low here, letting Christopher Norris dive to the outside. I wonder if the 2 is going to have to come to pit road here.
He might have to, and there's a couple of drivers, again, that still are in that spot of we don't know if they can make it to the stage, but at this point, I mean, Zach, they have to push it as far as they can go, because for that Malik Kuntz, GT Rosari, Danny Cochran, as well as Ollie Fonseca, for that Tyler Dangler, Noah Steele, Justin Smith, all have not pitted so far, and if they pit now, they will be going a lap down, if not more, based on the pace that we're seeing from Mark Whitley and the amount of ground everyone else is losing.
The ground that they are losing is huge, and right now you can see the two just struggling right now. He's either saving fuel or that truck's just gone completely away from the two machine, because right now he's got the 5 going around him. He's going to have quickly Ryan Ferraro, Ethan Smith, both these drivers, Austin Halsey here. This is a mixed bag of a top 10 here, and this is great to see in a cutoff race like this where so many drivers, even outside of the playoffs, are coming in here and making noise.
Tyler Dangler, one of those drivers that could not make it to the end, into pit road. Also adding to the group that I just shouted out, Nick Crawford. Again, he's not even 100% sure if he's going to be able to make it on fuel. He did have the caution that might have helped him out on getting closer, but he could be a lap or two shy from making it to the end, as Tyler Dangler 1 lap down, about to be going 2 laps down as the leaders are going on by.
Wow, this is heartbreaking for a few drivers out there, Sam. This is what I was talking about. I mean, if you felt like you couldn't make it, in my opinion, you need to start saving a lot earlier to have that in your back pocket, because right now I just think it's too late if you're noticing that you can't make it. And like you said, I mean, Tyler Dangler 2 laps almost down for him. He's going to have to charge up to Mark Whitley and try to get back a lap down.
I'm completely surprised in the fact of seeing drivers that were outside looking in, not going with the tire advantage of just taking tires at the stage. I get the fact of waiting and making sure you got tires from later in this race, but those bonus points are so great. They could equalize you with the other drivers you're trying to challenge with. Tyler Dangler not taking those, taking that pit stop. GT Rosari not taking the pit stop. This is very risky spots that all these drivers that decided to stay out are taking for themselves. And I gotta say, for Dakota Moniz, I love his decision, as Malik Kuntz slow and losing even more ground for the 98 machine, which is great for all the playoff drivers.
It really is good for them, but that's telling me I think he's in super save mode here, and I think maybe noticed it maybe a little too late possibly. That's going to be possibly the issue that number 98 runs into here. But if he can save enough and get to the stage, then he can stay on the lead lap, because this is a hairy situation to be in for especially drivers like playoff guys like Danny Cochran and even GT Rosari, who's now coming to pit road.
Into pit road, second place runner could not bring it to the end. And now the question is, for that of the 14, does he just come in for fuel and top off, or does he take tires and fuel? That Tyler Dangler just went with a top off and go, as the 14 marching his way into pit road. Following him is going to be the 6 of Justin Smith, who can't make it. And Noah Steele, as well as Ollie Fonseca, Danny Cochran, Malik Kuntz, all with a giant question mark with 6 more laps to go in the stage.
So many questions to be asked for sure here, Sam, and fuel only for the 14 team. And this right here is even questioning to me, because you need the tires to get back up there and get your lap back. You should have, if you knew you were going to make it, in my opinion, you should have came down earlier and looked. The 98 and the 2, they've decided they can't do it either, and it just seems like too far of a distance to be made on fuel.
And at this point, this is a race of who's going to be the first car a lap down. And I'm trying to look at the numbers of who might be that spot. I think GT should be that driver in that position. But there is the factor of Joshua Freed being the driver that could be going a lap down to take that lucky dog spot that could steal away some of these waiver rounds some of these drivers are looking for.
That it really could be, Sam. I mean, he's literally right in front of Mark Whitley. It's one truck in between them and Josh Altusi's passing, and there's Freed with Mark Whitley right behind him. This would take that position. And Irizarry, he's just coming out at 2 now, so he's about a straightaway back. Don't see him making that up in 4 laps.
And the fact that he did not take tires is going to make this march even harder. Joshua Freed is 100% good on fuel as well. Tires for that 39. The question is, will he be able to stay in front of the other drivers that are trying to become just 1 lap down? Ollie Fonseca is going to be taking tires and fuel for the 24, which I got to say, that's the better call, in my opinion, to take tires and fuel, because of the fact if he takes a waiver round, at least he'll have the tires to keep himself in contention. They'll just be slightly older than the rest of the field.
Completely agree with you there, Sam. I mean, I think the guys who did the fuel only are kind of in a terrible spot here because they're going to have to come down and get tires. They're not going to be able to take a wave around. They have really played themselves into a big hole now, and that's going to be a lot of playoff contenders questioning their strategy when they come out of Homestead here, and they're going to need big help before this race is over with.
Nick Crawford, 8th place runner. He's going to get points after his early spin to bring out our first caution of the day as we're closing in on our 1 lap to go. But it's really the battle for second place where a lot of this heat and pressure is building up of if a caution comes out, it might be around here because you got the lap down driver Tyler Dangler in the mix with Dakota Moniz for second place. That is not for position, but Dakota trying everything in his power to move up even further to get all the points this 5 needs as he was that cutoff driver, making sure he's in a better spot moving forward in this race. Christopher Norris going to be in 3rd. Here comes Ethan Smith, Ryan Ferraro, Austin Halsey, as well as John Forbes all mixed up with one another as we're on the last lap of the stage. As we are on the lap stage, about to come up to the stage break. They are not giving up for every position.
Yeah, they are not, man. It's Christopher Norris getting swamped right now. He's gotten stuck behind the 19 of Tyler Dingler, and that's got to be frustrating for him to be stuck behind a car here trying to go for points, and he's going to dive to the inside of Ethan Smith. Risky maneuver here.
He wants every single point, and as he will dive it down low, Ethan Smith giving some shades of last season as he moves up into the 19. And Norris going to be taking that spot as they come across the line. They wait for 10th place to finally cross, and that will be officially where the drivers will be, as that's your stage break yellow, and somehow they didn't bring out a caution with the drivers wrecking into one another.
Oh, man, Sam, that could have been very, very bad for a few of those guys right there, but they luckily get out of the situation, and Mark Whitley saying, I already know what's going on. I'm in a different zip code.
Ooh, survives, settles down, and Mark Whitley 11 seconds ahead of that madness. You can take a breath, but how will this next restart be as drivers now get to test what new rubber is like? And for Mark Whitley, Dakota Moniz, they are only going to have 2 sets of tires to work with from here on out.
Oh, that's where the situation gets a little dire for them for sure here, Sam. And man, you got to feel for them, and they'll try to figure out how they play their strategy for the rest of the race. But Mark Whitley, he's got no worries in the world. I mean, he was locked in with this. He's got damage on the nose, and he's still just that fast.
He's so fast and continues to stay where he's at right now. And now it's time for pit stops as drivers head into pit road. Where will some of these drivers lie as we're getting the numbers officially in on where drivers are finishing at our stage break? It's going to be Mark Whitley, Dakota Moniz, Christopher Norris, going to be your top 3 at the stage break. Ethan Smith with Austin Halsey, Ryan Ferraro, John Forbes, Nick Crawford, as well as Cody Reed and Matt Upbrook taking the final spots as they enter pit road. Mark Whitley, as well as others. I mean, this is your deep breath moment as 77 just looks so dominant there with his early aggression that just continued to work out.
Yeah, it really did, Sam. It worked out very, very well for this 77 machine. Now going to be on an even set of tires. I'm interested to see how this plays out. I mean, he's lost some of the guys that were, in my opinion, contending with him when it comes to lap time, even on older tires, which was Malik Kuntz and GT Irizarry, who are looking very, very strong. So we'll see how it works out here for the new group he's got behind him.
As Mark Whitley going to be out in cruise mode. Let's see if we have this drive. I don't know if we actually officially have him in our Discord, which looking at it, we do not have that of the 77 to bring up into the booth, but we do have second place runner of Dakota Moniz, and let's get our thoughts from the driver that's getting his sense on how this run is going, as Dakota going to be in second place. Let's see if we can queue up the 5. Dakota, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, you come away second at the stage break. 9 massive bonus points to be grabbed there. How are you feeling after that performance at our stage?
Honestly, feeling great. Those are some big stage points. We really need that, sit close to that playoff cut line. So, yeah, I'm feeling great. It was a great run there.
That it really was, Dakota, man. Congrats on getting second in the stage there. Get those 9 bonus points for yourself. But, you know, we watched you there through that whole run. We watched Mark Whitley, who was on the brand new tires. He shot through the field on the outside, just went around everybody. You took the more methodical approach. Take us through that decision there.
Yeah, my goal was just to kind of still save the tire, even though we had newer tires in most of the field there. still wanted to save him there for the end run, and we started picking off the guys that pitted with us that run slowly there, and we got to second there.
You got up to second. I mean, Dakota, how are you feeling, though, for the rest of this race on your confidence level on with how aggressive some of these drivers have been so far with fresh rubber?
I think if I could just do the same thing I did in that first stage and really be easy on my tires early on, I think if we get a long green run, I could really start to pick them off at the end, hopefully come away with a good finish for us.
Open for it. Well, Dakota, we'll send you back to your team, and good luck for the rest of the night.
All right, thank you, boys.
Well, that is going to be the 5 machine of Dakota Moniz, second place. I mean, Zach here for the 5. You could just hear it in his voice. Still, his heart rate's still up there. I think you can feel the fact that it's still possible to stay in the playoff push.
It's still possible for sure, Sam, and you can hear it, like you said, in his voice. He was definitely hyped up from that moment. The adrenaline was pumping, but he can't let that adrenaline dump happen, because right here we're going to be coming up to only 65 laps in this race of the 150 total. You're going to need to keep that same type of mentality throughout this whole entire race, and this has opened up the door for a lot of things. I mean, you look at guys that are stuck one lap down out there, GT Irizarry, Malik Kuntz, those two come to mind right when I look down there. That's a tough break for them. Danny Cochran, he's back around in the 2 machine there for him, but he took tires, so luckily he could take the wave there, but they're going to be much older. Danny Cochran's got to be hoping for something to play out here for yellow at some point.
And moving forward, tallying up the numbers, Cody Reed going to be the new driver that is going to be the cutoff driver. But Zach, with the bonus points that were grabbed, +9 over that of GT Irizarry and Noah Steele. That is going to put a lot of pressure on those drivers that are outside looking in, being GT Irizarry, Tyler Dangler, Noah Steele, and Joshua Kanata, which Kanata still dealing with the damage as he's going to be back in 14th place. Stage is done. It's all about winning and where you're at as they're into that of the Geico restart zone. Let's see how the rest of that of the pretty Southern colors 225 ends up as Mark Whitley taking off into turn number 1.
Great start from Whitley. He's loving what he's seeing in the background as the drivers stack up there with Ethan Smith leading the way on the bottom with Dakota Moniz on his outside, and you have Christopher Norris in the 38 right there along with them. So drivers all that need, 3 drivers that really need great points here, right in a good position after getting some good stage points.
And at this stage of the race, it's just survival mode. We are still not even at the halfway marker, and they are 2 wide, stack on top of one another as they are roaring down into turn number 1. Mark Whitley aiming for the most laps led. He was already locked in just by starting this race in a comfort zone, but the rest of the field trying to just point their way in. And those drivers that need the points, they're all stacked up in the back half of the field.
That they are, and you can see that just, wow, Christopher Norris there, big moment for him. I don't know if he got a bump from the 11 where he just jotted across the nose of the 11, but that right there was almost a major moment for those guys.
As they got to be careful. One big mistake with this lead group can pile into a lot of other drivers, which, I mean, if you're deeper in the field, you might want to see some type of carnage strike with yourself trying to aim for any high position. As you look in the middle part of this pack, you're going to be seeing drivers on the move. Danny Cochran, as well as others, as Danny going to be bouncing off the outside wall, almost getting into Malik Coates, and holding on is the drivers inside of our top 20.
Oh, he almost went for a big ride there for sure. Luckily, the wheelmanship from our past champion there keeps him out of any type of trouble. He does an excellent job here as now Kuntz trying to get his way by. And remember, Kuntz is still a lap down along with the 14 years already back there in the background, who was battling the 2 at one point for position. So it shows you the 2 different realms that they're in. But here comes Mark Morales and the 29 Logan Brakey as they go around the outside of Ryan Ferraro and Matt Upbrook.
And making that outside lane look easy with that type of a push and assistance. As here comes Danny Cochran, settled in, might have had a little bit of a scare, but says, I'm going to get right back on the saddle as he's marching on the outside lane, getting the run, and trying to push his way forward. This other playoff driver of Logan Brakey. Updates on one of our playoff contenders is Tyler Dangler, who is struggling with the 19 machine, as he almost completely ended his night. He had to come into pit road under green flag conditions. 1 lap down is that of Tyler Dangler, added with GT Irizarry.
Tough breaks for those guys, but they still have a chance here. I mean, if something happens, it opens up that door. But for drivers like GT and Tyler, and then the gap ahead of them is so great that they have to really have something happen here quickly because they're going to need multiple positions gained to the drivers that are ahead of them in that cut line, and it's going to have to quickly happen here before this race is over with. So they're in a sticky situation, but it's not over yet, and that's what racing can do. It can really open up opportunities as the laps click away.
As we're riding on board with the 91 and Mark Morales Jr. as he is still on the inside. Who is outer groove going to be Logan Brake, as well as you see the colorful machine of Austin Halsey as they are stacked up like a pod with some of these drivers. 3 wide, Mark Morales has to back out of it as he did not get a good run on the inside lane there for 3 and 4. Looking at the ticker, I mean, Zach already 2 seconds ahead is Mark Whitley to the rest of the field. That 77 says it's go time as we look at a 3 wide in the middle of the field.
The impressive thing is, like, I think a lot of drivers in second, third, fourth, fifth, they're managing their stuff. They're probably holding back just that little bit to not burn their stuff up. Mark Whitley, he doesn't even have to manage. He just goes for it. He builds enough gap, and he holds on to the lead. That's what his MO has been. We'll see if it comes back to bite him because he hasn't had even tires with somebody behind him yet. But with the pace he had last run, he was still pretty quick even to end it out. I think he'll have no problems keeping these tires underneath him and just driving away from the field because it looks like tonight he's unstoppable.
Again, last season, Mark Whitley got the pole, almost was on pace to lead almost every single lap last season, but had to do a start and park because he was running in a different league with the early portions of last season. Tonight, even in practice, he was so amped up and ready for this race. He was just like, I don't have to start and park. You guys are in trouble. And it makes sense. We're coming up to the halfway marker. This 77 is putting a beating on the rest of the field. Again, over 2.5 seconds to that of Ethan Smith. But when will that switch happen of the drivers that have been saving their tires, trying to close in on that gap? And will they be able to close in on the gap? As we find here of the 5 machine, Dakota Moniz, this is for 4th position. In front of him, he's got that of Blackjack Racing, Ethan Smith, John Forbes. But still the middle ground is where some of the chaos is finally, you could say, settled down just a little bit as Logan Brakey trying to get past that of Oli Fonseca as well as others.
Drivers all trying to make up spots here for sure, and Brakey's one of them. He's now diving to the outside of Cody Reed here, trying to get the run on this 25 machine. It looks like he'll get to the quarter panel and be able to have a good shot down the back straightaway, especially with the draft up ahead of him of that outer groove. And Brakey trying to move himself into a top 7 position. And with the speed he's showing, he can drive all the way up to second because he's turning some quick lap times and utilizing those fresh tires.
Utilizing the tires to their best abilities here in the early going as the field tries to continue the pace as we're past halfway. Yes, the drivers are side by side, but that's exactly what we can do as well, as we will take you to a commercial break here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting as you're watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. It's playoff racing action. The cutoff of the round of 16 who moves on to the round of 12. Tonight we'll give you the answers, but we will be back in just a few moments as we take a side-by-side commercial break.
The best, you got them for abreast, often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws! Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
I think I watched Josh 3 or 4 times before I ran the car. He killed them every race, and it was like stout fields, like good cars, big races, and I mean, he was unbeatable. And I was like, oh man, this is, like, I'm nervous. I was so nervous getting into the car full time this year after watching Josh win 3 or 4 races straight. These cars, they have a lot of horsepower now. They have over 500, and I think 5 years ago they didn't have 450. They're gonna be a handful to drive, but just don't overdrive them. Let the car do the work.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. It's the cutoff race from the round of 16 here tonight to see what 12 drivers will move on to race in the next round of the playoffs. Tonight, it's been all Mark Whitley. Took the lead and he has not looked back since, but certainly drivers trying to mix it up, and as we are about halfway through this green flag run, we're expecting drivers to think about pit stops here in the next 20 to 25 laps that might shake things up fully as Mark Whitley continues to still be the fastest driver out there. Before we continue on, though, got to give a big shout out to the major sponsors here at the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series, that being Race Car Graveyard itself, the title sponsor since season 1. It's been a pleasure to have that diecast team part with us. If you'd like to start collecting your own diecasts or 1/24th ratios to 1/64th ratios, head on over to Instagram and look up at Race Car Graveyard today. Use the promo code RCGY for 10% off on your next purchase. As well, big thanks to the Laugh Lap. The Laugh Lap being the major sponsor for our stage break. If you'd like to watch and listen to some quality memes on Instagram, go to _laugh_lap today. They post daily, and they're always great content on Instagram. Well, great content otherwise on Instagram and other places. That's Larry Art Productions, variety comedy channel that makes you get some giggles, as well as a great sponsor here for the ISRC Truck Series. He's the head sponsor of the 2 Danny Cochran machine that won the championship for season 3. I wonder what else he could give for you today. That's Larry Art Productions. Look him up on YouTube. Well, Zach, it has been the Mark Whitley show up front. The playoffs and the points really haven't shifted much if you look at how they started coming into this race, but we are waiting for them pit stops.
That we are, Sam, waiting for that one final green flag stop here to decide all of this. And personally, looking at the way this could play out, I think you're going to see those stops around lap 100, really. So we're about 10 laps away from it. 102, 105 range, I feel like could be that money area to hit pit road. And as I say that, one of our contenders here tonight who had troubles earlier is out of the race now, Joshua Kanata. So his chances of moving on the round of 12 are over.
Josh Kanata caught up after our second caution of the day, took tires, got into some contact with himself and that of Jonathan Smith, and then decided to retaliate, gave himself more damage, and it was a game over type of a night. Got too much damage and said it's done. 16, Prathley was in a must-win scenario coming into tonight, and after all of his woes in those first 20 laps, he has called it a night after just 93 laps. Hate to see it from a rookie sensation, but it is not going to be moving on to the next round. So that's one contender our drivers that are inside of the playoffs coming in tonight does not have to worry about. Another one that's been struggling is that of Tyler Dangler, who's in 21st position, 1 lap down, and could be potentially going 2 laps down here if he's not careful. And GT Rosari also 1 lap down. It's Noah Steele. Zach, we haven't really talked about the 8 machine, but he's back in that 15th position. He's kind of the last hope of the drivers that are outside looking in to try to crack into the round of 12.
He really is that last hope, and the other driver that had hope, we're looking on the screen there, is that 14, like you talked about. First car, 1 lap down. These drivers are somewhat, in my opinion, lucky that he is 1 lap down, because he had to drive from so far back, being 1 lap down compared to these drivers, that this 14 is he's looking really, really quick on old tires, and he would personally, in my opinion, be probably the fastest truck on track if he had clear track in front of him. So this 14 here, we'll see if he can get back on the lead lap at some point, because the laps are dwindling away. But if we got a long enough run and he does get back here soon enough on that lead lap, he still has a chance to go up here and make some noise up in this top 5.
Gonna need a little bit of assistance to do just that, as John Forbes, who's in 4th place, has had a ton of bad luck here at this track in past seasons. The 4th place, probably one of his best runs he's ever had at Homestead, even though he's always had the speed. It's just been looking for some help, as we fall back to 9th place runner Matt Upbrook. I mean, Zach, we touched on it earlier in the fact that both of us really didn't have him on our list of making it to the next round. Well, they just made us eat our own words, as he is now in 9th place and looking very solid to be moving on to the next round.
Looking to get his 3rd top 10 in a row, Sam. That would be major statements, especially for the regular season in the race, the opener of the playoffs, and the second race of the playoffs, to kind of start this little bit of a momentum streak. So he's doing it at the right time, and this is the utilization of playoffs that drivers need to use. You might have had a season that was up and down, not really had too many highlights, had more of mid lights and low lights for yourself for the whole season, but you made it to the playoffs. That's your chance to redeem yourself, and Upbrook has been one of the drivers who's took full control of that situation.
Taking control and now in a position of just survive and you should be all right. Now the battle for fourth place, John Forbes and with Christopher Norris. Norris, who we saw be so great at the end of the stage, started to get swamped there late, but this 38 currently side by side for fourth place.
He's looking still very good on the long run, and that's what has been his strong suit here, is trying to make John Forbes work hard for this one. And Forbes doing a great job there, rolling the top. Look at this. Christopher Norris going to be super loose there coming off the bottom, and Forbes is going to hold on to it for now. So Christopher Norris is going to have to try to come back at the 11. But at the same time, this is a top 5 running position for Christopher Norris. He just needs to be smart and methodical here to get himself onto that round of 12.
And drivers that have been trying to make it to the round of 12, Christopher Norris was able to do it last season. Cody Reed trying to add to another round of 12 contender for the 25, who's right behind this 38 machine. And Dakota Moniz. Dakota, what a run he is having here tonight for the 5. I mean, Zach, the 5 machine, another one of those drivers that a lot of people weren't sure if what speed the 5 was going to have, just based off the raw terrible luck he's had since season 1.
This would be a feel-good story, I feel like, for Moniz to move on to that next round, because like you said, it's a lot of times been the luck. The 5 hasn't had great qualifying speed, in my opinion, but he's always seemed to race very well. I think that's what suits Dakota, is once you get into this race, he's able to move around, find what he needs, and work his way methodically forward. So, for the luck side of things, I think it's turned around a little bit this season here for him, and he's going to look to continue some of that good luck streak here at Homestead, as he's definitely looking strong, as he's got a lap down truck coming behind him, the 98 Malik Kuntz, who, once again, he's one of the fastest trucks on the racetrack on the long run. This 98, he would not have luck if luck was a thing, because, man, it has not been good for him all season.
No, I mean, I've been looking at the past, start of the season. I've been looking at how these drivers have evolved throughout, this beginning portions to now, and it's just been Malik Kuntz, first half of the race, up front, top 5 speed, top 10 speed, top 3 speed at most tracks we go to, but it's always that second half where there's this pendulum that just swings and forces this 98 to get an 18th or worse finish. Last week, finally breaking that, getting a top 10 run. It looks like the terrible streak has struck once more. For that, Malik Kuntz says, you look at the rest of the field, some other drivers that are battling hard around one another, and into pit road, it's the 2 of Danny Cochran being the first driver to hit pit road.
Not too surprised to see this. He was having to take the wave around from the last stage yellow there, and his tires were much older than everybody else's, so he had to really be struggling there late in that run, and right now, he's going to be one of the first takers on pit road, so not surprised to see this from the 2 team here.
As Danny Cochran going to be taking the tires and fuel, for the 2 machine. He's got to hope that this race continues to stay green, as he's now going to be going a lap down, if not more, as Mark Whitley continues to stay strong, but the driver that's trying to run him down, it's going to be the 74 of Nick Crawford. That last lap, still the fastest driver on these old tires. It's the 77 of Mark Whitley. I mean, Zach, it's got to be some type of self-sabotage for the 77 if he's going to lose this race, or he's going to need a caution to come out to give Nick Crawford and the rest of the field a chance.
It very well possibly looks that way. I mean, Nick Crawford, from watching him, he's, off and on. It's either he's quicker than Mark Whitley or he's a little bit slower. So they've kind of been trading lap times back and forth between those 2. So Nick Crawford is kind of stopping the bleeding somewhat, but still a 3.5-second gap. That is a immeasurable amount that you got to really start to get headway on if you want to have a shot at him before this race is over. But still a solid night nonetheless for Nick Crawford. He doesn't need to do anything too drastic to get himself on to that next round.
Well, we're in the final third of tonight's race, and we lose another driver, Joshua Altus. Lost that of the internet connection to the server, and it looks like his night officially done for the 94. That was 3 laps down at the time of his disconnection, as this field cycling through, seeing some of these drivers trying to Move on to the next round. Here's some of the drivers, though, that aren't in the playoffs but still having a great run. It's Mark Morales in 9th place.
Well, Morales definitely having a great run, Sam. That's great to see for him. It's kind of been an interesting season for him. He's had some really great moments. I look back to the race that he pitted too early, and he would have finished in the top 5. Is talking about him pitting. He's going to hit pit road now, but luckily for his sake, he will be able to make it to the end of this race on fuel. But Morales has definitely had a weird season, nonetheless, to say, and had some bright moments. I hope that maybe some of this good running he's had late in the season can carry over for him to season 5.
Also, you saw in the background into pit road going to be Noah Steele as we bump up to that of 9th place runner Ollie Fonseca, Logan Brakey, and Austin Halsey. 3 drivers all battling for position to see who's going to be in 9th place.
This battle has been very, very good to watch. And speaking of battles, we got another battle for 3rd as somehow John Forbes, he's found his way forward here once again. And Christopher Norris, he's looking to get past GT Irizarry to put himself in contention here for a top 3 position. And even while we're saying that, Nick Crawford, he's actually cut the gap down about another half a second from Mark Whitley. So it looks like at least they're making some inroads on that 77 up front.
And radio is getting very chaotic as drivers announcing they're coming into pit road. Middle of the pack, majority of where those drivers are making that radio call. As Ollie Fonseca going to be coming into pit road in 9th position. Who else will follow that of the 24? Going to be the 29 of Logan Brakey as they both come into pits as one. This group here for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, keeping it close. Ethan Smith, John Forbes, Christopher Norris in line with lap car GT Irizarry, who we touched on. If the what ifs are going to strike this, it's going to be out of the 14.
Well, yeah, we'll have to see how it works out for him, because he's starting to slow down a little bit here, and still that first car lap down, but it's not looking likely for long as there's other cars hitting pit road and people getting closer, that much closer to Mark Whitley also. So we'll see how this shakes out. But this battle here has been excellent. I mean, Forbes trying everything on his teammate. He's also had Christopher Norris a few times trying to make the pass on him. So we got the Blackjack Racing crew here in 3rd and 4th with Christopher Norris right into him.
Well, this is kind of the MO of Blackjack Racing. They come and always in forces with one another up in the top 10, it feels like, at all weeks. John McAdams, who is not racing here tonight, the 4th Blackjack member, who is kind of always in the back, but it's always great to see when he has a good run. But for that of Ethan Smith, John Forbes, Cody Reed, this trio since season 1, season 2, and season 3, what a crew they have been. Always up front, always a threat. Ethan Smith was there in the Final 4 for season 1 and 2. John Forbes made the Final 4 back in season 2. And now, side by side, again, a little bit of wiggly there at a turn 2.
Forbes about wrecked it right there. That was almost everything gone in a blink of an eye, and he luckily holds on to it. But here's Malik Kuntz. Here's comes the 2 of Danny Cochran on new tires, and wow, that right there shook things up. Christopher Norris had to back up it way big.
Backs out, protecting his own race, but allowing those to get aggressive as Danny Cochran going to be forcing it 3 wide. Malik Kuntz still very aggressive on the pinch, forcing Ethan Smith, John Forbes to stay high in that 3rd lane. They've got to be careful of that outside wall as Danny Cochran throttling it up, the 2 wanting every single position possible. As here's the 5 Dakota Moniz, 7th place runner, just settling in on where he's at as those front runners getting a little bit more antsy. Those fresh tires, Zach, they could be a force to watch out for as more drivers coming into pit road. Ryan Ferraro, the next mix, but here comes the 38 of going to be that of Christopher Norris, as well as the 5 at Dakota, that of 51 of Ryan Ferraro.
Yeah, some great pit stop entries here for a few drivers as pit road continues to stay busy here as we're looking for more drivers to get it done. This is Cody Reed right here riding on board. And look at this, the 91 of Morales there all by on the fresher tires, and it just shows you the difference of what lap of new tires can do here between old tires is you just don't have any chance of holding people back.
74, Nick Crawford, 2nd place runner into pit road, and that it might be the ringing of the dinner bell. Mark Whitley still out on track, and Zach can stay up for another 2 laps, and he'd still be ahead of that of 74. Crazy to think the speed of Mark Whitley right now.
It is crazy to think what kind of speed he's had right now. He's been on to add the short run, the mid run, and the long run speed. Now, there's been laps that have been quicker from drivers behind him. Both the gap he had, about 2.8 seconds back to the Nick Crawford, he had no worries really. So it makes things that much more interesting. And He's hitting pit road this time. I expect him. He may even come out ahead of Nick Crawford with no mistakes here.
Oh, the teammates almost colliding with one another. Ethan Smith, John Forbes survived, but into pit road. Looking at the flags, everyone's good. That came into pit road this go around. No one's been caught with speeding. And still waiting on that of Cody Reed, as well as Cody Smith to make their stops. Still out on track. Cody Reed going to be taking that 1 lap advantage to just get another bonus point for the 25.
Bonus points could be what comes back to get him through, as he had a good positioning there before after the end of that stage. He's just going to look to pad on that some more here, but look at Danny Cochran in the 2 machine here. He's got Malik Kuntz all over him, but Malik still on that pretty much the same set of tires as Danny, about 1 lap fresher. He looks like he's trying to pounce here, but this would be get a lap back to Danny, and then once everybody else pits in front of him, this would be his lap back.
Well, the advantage of pitting early. Danny Cochran, Mark Morales, and as well Nick Crawford going to be ahead of Mark Whitley. Whitley having a slower stop into pit road and out of pit road. Nick Crawford will take the pass, and also having 1 lap disadvantage to that of the 77. The race is back on, Zach.
The race is back on, Sam, for sure, and there was almost contact between the two as the 74 went around the outside of the 77, and we haven't seen the 77 other than one other time have a tire advantage, and he drove away into the distance. Now with only a 1 lap tire advantage, we could see similar sights, but I think it's going to be a lot closer if this 74 can figure out how to manage his stuff, make this 77 use up that 1 lap advantage he has over him. We could have a battle on our hands.
And as well, trying to catch up to Mark Morales and Danny Cochran, the 2 leaders at the moment, as Nick Crawford, Mark Whitley, we're talking about them potentially racing for the win. Well, they're back in 3rd and 4th place. Ollie Fonseca, older tires, as well as Noah Steele, 6th place. The 8 need a little bit more help. Might need still a caution to get back into the mix. But the race is back on, and here comes Mark Whitley to the outside. Nick Crawford, we've seen him be patient before in other races. Tonight, if he wants a win, the aggression might have to build up.
The question is, how much is he willing to risk? We know Mark Whitley locked in on points. Nick Crawford in a very good state when it comes to points, but he does not want to take any chances to knock him out of this race where it could put that in jeopardy. So right now, the 74 is probably going to fight very, very hard, but he's going to fight hard and not take too many risks to ruin his races. He's going to be looking to get past Morales here and make the pass on the inside, while the 77, he's going to have a clear, good shot here to pass this 91 on the front straightaway. That was best case scenario for Mark Whitley.
Gonna have to go to the inside lane. Mark Whitley clear already of Mark Morales. That's for the 2nd and 3rd position. Next driver in line gonna be on the oldest tires on track currently. Danny Cochran in the lead by just a second. He's got Malik Kuntz, gonna be the barrier between his 1st and 2nd place. But at this point, he's a sit and duck out of Danny Cochran, who at this track thought he was gonna win the championship back in season 2, wasn't able to do so. Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford, they're here to shatter some dreams here tonight, as Mark just looks so quick and almost looks like he's playing with his food right now on how he's trying to pounce up and set up the 74 for this pass.
Well, this will be interesting right here. Their own Malik Kuntz right here in the 98. The 74 going to catch him at the worst spot with the 77 running high like that. That really allowed him to get a big run here. And this now is going to set up an interesting moment again as the 74 to the inside of the 98. The 2 is going to close the door here on the 74. He's going to have to find another way through, and Mark Whitley's going to have the run right here to the outside. And look at this. Mark Whitley going to push the 2. This should be an easy pass if you're Mark Whitley, but that was almost disastrous there as he got a little bit too much into the 2.
Got in a 2, rear bumper, got into the outside wall. Danny Cochran's dealing with a slight damage now, but Mark Whitley still aggressively pushing forward, not able to make the pass just yet for the lead, but Nick Crawford continues to defend, utilizing other drivers as pawns, but that is just it. Pawns for now, and Mark is taking the crown on the outside, the 77 with the speed, Nick Crawford with the wiggle, and that should be the pass for the lead as they come across the line. Nick has the leads that lap, but with 30 laps to go, slide contact, Mark Whitley in the side bumper of the 74. Woo boy, this ain't over just yet. He's not laying over Zach. Nick, this is the first time we're really seeing this type of aggression.
I love it, man. You can't let him shove you down the racetrack and pinch you off like that, but with Whitley's good run off of 2, it's going to be nothing to his avail as he fights back to the inside here, but it's just going to be Tough to get back around this 77 here, who's loose on the
Oh, he
outside.
wiggled.
That's going to open up the door. We're going to stay side by side.
Will Mark Whitley try to do another pinch move? Nick Crawford staying in the middle lane. Mark Whitley could not keep up with the pace. He'll settle back in line. Attempt another go, and Nick Crawford survives this attack.
I tell you, every time he survives another attack, if he can make him go to the outside, that's what makes it that much more tough. It's going to hurt that 77's tires if he can just fight to keep him there on that outer groove. And right now, Crawford a little bit loose there on the center. The 77 with a good run off. He's going to get back to the outside, and we're going to be back once again side by side heading off in the one.
Mark Whitley, will he just stay on the outside wall or will he come down trying to pinch and see contact again? It looks like Nick Crawford immediately dives to the white line. They're going to pick their spots. Coming to the exit of turn number 2. No contact for now. Give the advantage to Mark Whitley. He's got the nose down the middle of the straightaway. And Mark almost fully clears the enter turn 3. Here comes the pinch. The 77 trying to give no advantage to the 74, but finally clears. Mark Whitley, no more worries. It's all clean air ahead.
Who's going to have the better equipment, though, as this goes forward? That's going to be the question. Whitley was being very aggressive there at the drive-ins and through the center. I mean, you can see how much he drives away on entry through center. He just gaps the 74, telling me he's really got no thought of tire in his mind. He's just trying to go fast. And Nick Crawford could have played him there well enough to where he could have a little bit fresher tire here coming down to the end. Since he was quicker on the long run that last time, this could be Nick Crawford's chance again, but he's going to have to stay methodical. He can't let him get too far out, though.
I mean, Zach, we look at that last run that we had after the stage was finished. The drivers were able to just space out as quickly as they want. Mark Whitley, at this point, 10 laps into a run, had over a 2-second lead advantage over the rest of the field. Now he's within 4/10. So Nick Crawford just needs to settle, keep it close, and hope that he's still got that tire advantage that he had at the end of the last run.
We'll have to see if he can do that. I mean, right here on board, I think we're going to see, though, what's the problem for him is right here off the exits of 4 and off the exits of 2. He's fighting that steering wheel. This time right there was pretty smooth through the entry there. But there was a few times when we were side by side there with Mark and Nick there. Nick was stepping out the rear end, and this track is easy to overheat a right rear tire very quickly, and that can lead to some bad conditions. And he's just having to do those micro corrections to try to keep that truck in a straight line and not end up sideways.
But Zach, I mean, this is Nick Crawford's racing style. I mean, I think back to a lot of the other mile-and-a-half tracks we go to, those micro adjustments is what Nick Crawford always does. As we're riding on board with our leader now, you can see he's kind of working the wheel, dirt tracking it when we're coming off the exit of the corner, but really trying to just keep the wheels stable as other drivers, most drivers like to keep it stable. Those that have those micro adjustments, very much it's the top tier level that always go for those.
I completely 1000% agree. The drivers that are able to make the most small, simple corrections in the center to enter the corner, that's where you're going to see drivers that perform the best, because they are always keeping the truck in the perfect grip level zone. If you're just turning the wheel, keeping it in one spot throughout the through the corner, you're not really on the edge of it. You're just kind of keeping it under the edge of the grip. And Mark Whitley and I think Nick Crawford are showing with their wheelmanship that you got to keep it right on that simple line and not go over it, but you can step over it, but you got to quickly bring it back in.
Certainly trying to bring it in as quickly as they can as the field continues to rage on, trying to do some quick math on where drivers are points-wise. Who has the advantage? Who has the disadvantage? Right now, looking at where drivers are running, Noah Steele, the only driver that is in a possible points way to move on to the next round. But what he needs to do is make sure that he's 10 positions ahead of either Cody Reed or Ollie Fonseca. Those are the two drivers that he needs to be at least 10 positions ahead. And Noah Steele in 10th place. And those other drivers that he needs to be in front of, well, they're right around him. Not enough positions are being gained by the 8.
Not enough indeed, Sam, and he pitted pretty much the earliest of that group also. I mean, Fonseca 21 laps ago compared to, Noah Steele's 23 laps ago. So it not too much of a difference there, but the other drivers all with major differences. Cody Reed with about 10 lap fresher tires than Steele. So I expect him to hold on, but look at this group right here. They're getting stacked up. It's getting a little bit nervy here with Christopher Norris trying to move his way forward, and he's also got Fonseca right there on the older set of tires, passing the 98 of Kuntz, and also with the 2 of Cochran up here, is starting to make a little bit of a logjam here.
Malik Kuntz on the entry just was not prepared for Danny Cochran to back off as soon as he did, and it made a complete wiggle out of the 98 that almost collected Ollie Fonseca and Christopher Norris. They hold on for now, but up to third, it's going to be Ethan Smith in the 00. Danny Cochran fighting and defending, hold back the 38 of Christopher Norris, and Norris, a much different story from last season. He came into the playoffs tied with other drivers just to make the playoffs. In the round of 16 cutoff race last season, Norris was in a 3-way tie to see who could move on to the round of 12, and it was Ollie Fonseca that was the one driver that got bounced out of that 3-way tie. 24 here tonight. Bradley could say if he finishes where he's at, we'll finally be able to move on to the next round, which Ollie Fonseca, similar to Ethan Smith, some major threats to look out for, trying to make the Final Four throughout this playoff run.
That they really are, man. And, you know, it's cool to see that Fonseca moves through, even Christopher Norris not having to worry about a tiebreaker this time if we keep it like this to the end of the checkered flag. But it just shows you how drivers can make those simple changes and make their way through. And right here's the simple changes. John Forbes, I thought he was going to go 3 wide. Cochran covers it off, allowing Fonseca, his teammate, to go on the outside. But Forbes, I don't think he's trying to wait around. I think he's trying to go around both of them here as he's going to get to the outside of this 2 and to the inside of the 24. It's 3 wide off of 4.
Reason why he's being so aggressive. Freshest tires out there is the 11 as well as the 25. They have to utilize their tire rubber if they want to get the best finish they can as they continue to rage on. Zach, I know we got to keep our camera on this because the potential chance of a yellow. But if people are looking at our ticker board, the gap to the lead is still close. It's still 3/10. Nick Crawford not in striking distance to make a pass, but he's keeping it close to where he wants to be as the run continues to tick away. In those final 10 laps, that could be the swing for the 74 to be the faster driver.
To see if that's how it plays out. It definitely is closing down up there, but this battle is raging on the 24 Fonseca. He is not allowing these guys to get by easy. He's on the older tires. He knows he needs every point he can possible, so he's fighting every position like it's for the win. And Reed there luckily making the pass for himself so he could try to go up there and run his teammate down along with Christopher Norris and Ethan Smith, his other teammate. But man, F24 Fonseca, he is taking no prisoners with his defense.
He really isn't, and I understand why he would run this aggressive, but I know for Ollie Fonseca, he runs with a spotter, and I feel like as a spotter, he can tell Ollie, hey, you're good. You are ahead of the driver that you need to be ahead of. That is, no, it's still, caution flag comes out, though. It's Justin Smith in the 6, and the yellow flag is going to change everything here tonight.
Oh, man. If you would ask for ISRC finish to the end of the round of 16, well, it's about to get crazy here because we're going to have some drama flaring from this next restart. It's going to give everybody an opportunity to get that much quicker. It's guys like Danny Cochran, guys like Fonseca who are struggling with the older tires. They're now going to be able to come down to pit road, get a set of tires on their trucks, and be in much better positions as we got this instant replay getting queued up to show how we came to yellow here, Sam. This is changing everything.
It changes everything, and this comes down to a driver on older tires, breaks loose, and tries to save it. And Zach, we see this type of a snapping action usually in the next-gen Cup car, but here at Homestead, you easily can overcorrect, and it is just a missile that the 6 feels going up to the outside wall.
That it is, Sam. He's turning that wheel right because that rear ends of the truck is kicking out to the right as the truck wants to return more left. Those front tires grip up. And like you said, it's just a straight rocket ship into that outside wall, sliding down the racetrack, and right here going to come to about a slower stop as he gets it rolling, and that's when the caution came out as the 6 almost in clear track with just those couple trucks going by. That's what triggered that yellow.
And now looking at the field, strategies were looking good for that of the 74 of Nick Crawford. He was faster than Mark Whitley, closing in on the end of that run, but now it is down to an equal mano-a-mano battle. And Zach, looking at the drivers, looks like a majority of them 4 tires and fuel. I'm keeping my eye though. Who's willing to take just 2 tires? It seems like too risky to take of a strategy, and it looks like it's all 4 tires and fuel for the whole entire field.
4 tires and fuel for him, Sam. And interesting there is it looks like Nick Crawford not with the greatest stop for himself as he's going to be in the 3rd spot and giving it up to Ethan Smith. So whew, it's about to get hectic up front. I cannot wait to see what plays out. I mean, Mark Whitley's had such good short run speed, but I think also a lot of guys have been holding back, trying to manage their stuff. Everybody's going all out from here on out, though.
Well, thank you so much to everyone that is joining with us here tonight for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series, the cutoff race for the round of 16, as this is the Pretty Southern Colors 225 at Homestead. We here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting are so excited with it being the playoff season for a lot of the different series that we get to cover. And for us up in the booth, we're proud to announce we have ourselves a charity event. Last year, we only had one charity event. It was our 6 hours of Daytona, where we had the endurance racing. This year, we got to have that of the Daytona 500 charity event for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. But Zach, this time, it's going to be in June. We're having our 2nd charity event of the year.
It's going to be fun, Sam. I cannot wait for that. And I believe here, we should have some posts going out soon, and those entries should be opening up here right tonight. So it's go time for that, man. And the Gen 4 car, lots of horsepower, lots of miles, and lots of drivers out there doing it for a great cause. So I cannot wait to get that kicked off, man, and be up in the booth with you.
It's going to be the Gamer Outreach 600 Gen 4 Cup cars, new horsepower ramped up, and it's going to be at that of Charlotte for the Coca-Cola 600, you could say, but instead it's our Gamer Outreach 600 charity event. We cannot wait to be sharing with you. Thank you so much to everyone that made our first charity event of the year so successful. Our biggest donations ever for that of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. Let's see how much we can help out another great charity at the Gamer Outreach. Again, thank you so much for watching with us. Now let's focus back into tonight's race. Mark Whitley looking like the dominant factor to win here tonight, but Zach, new tires. We've seen how they can be very aggressive and hard on these tires at the start of these restarts, but that was back at the start of the race. This is for a chance to win, and for that to Noah Steele back in 11th place, he needs to giddy up and go, because he's only going to be having that of a 10-lap dash to see who wins here tonight.
Noah Steele's definitely going to have to send it here, as they would say, Sam, that's for sure. And the 8 machine, if he wants to go up here and have a shot to move himself on to the round of 12. But it is any driver's game now here coming down to the end, because this right here opens up the door. Mark Whitley's been so fast. I mean, it's going to be tough to get around the 77. But I tell you what, they're going to have a shot at it. You're going to see drivers attempting stuff that they haven't done all night, maneuvers they haven't been willing to do just because of the tires. You can throw the tires out the window now, because guess what? It is all about driver and all about making pace around this 1.5-mile course here in Homestead, Florida.
And for a lot of these drivers, you have to be careful. Cody Reed, Oli Fonseca, 2 drivers that are almost tied on being that cutoff driver for the end of this race. Both up front, and both cannot afford a major mistake, because that could be gifting Noah Steele. And now back on the lead lap, Tyler Dangler a chance to have a berth into the round of 12. Green flag is out. Oli Fonseca going to be bouncing to the outside lane. Mark Whitley already slicing and dicing down into turn number 1. Can they survive? Let's find out. 11 laps to go here tonight.
Everybody here with those fresh tires, trying to fire them off, not get loose, not make a mistake. And it's Christopher Norris who's a little bit loose down the back straightaway. He's got the 2 of Danny Cochran looking to his inside here. It's going to be almost 4 wide here, entering into 3.
4 wide, going to be battling for that 3rd place. Not going to be seeing everyone surviving, though, giving each other plenty of room to work with. Oli Fonseca swaps from the middle to the outside groove. 3 wide back for that 5th position. But it's Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford keeping it close with one another. But the swappage of drivers trying to see where they want to be for 4th on back. They are keeping it mixy as Nick Crawford throws it out on the outside, trying to find some momentum to catch up to Mark Whitley, because the 77 is gone.
I tell you what, that outside line can also fire up the tires a little bit quicker, putting a little bit more heat, a little more speed around the top. Maybe that's the momentum that Nick Crawford's trying to create, but we'll see what he's going to have, because right now his teammate Christopher Norris holding on to 3rd as Fonseca's ripping the top there around Cochran, and he's going to have a heck of a run.
Caution! Martin Morales spun out on the front stretch. We get another try at this.
Oh, man, this is going to get even that much more wild. We just seen 4 wide in the 3. We might see 5 on this next one, but tough break there for Martin Morales as this yellow's come out. And man, oh man, Sam, this is living up to what we've seen from ISRC in the past here with their playoff races and cutoff ones.
And this caution comes off a little bit of assistance by a driver that had to get moving. The 91 gets a bump from Noah Steele back for that of 11th place. So no surprise, we're seeing drivers that aggression level raise. And what's interesting, this gives Tyler Dengler a chance and opportunities on the lead lap to come to pit road and get some fresh rubber for the 19.
That it will. The 19's going to definitely like this position to be in to allow him to try to go gain some spots. And it's a long shot for him to go up there and get the win and lock himself in. But if some major error happens with some of these wrecks, that it's the right people, he could get a good enough finish to where it still could possibly be close to pointing himself in. So we'll see what Dingler can do. But right now, it's go time out here on the field, and Mark Whitley with an excellent job there. Nick Crawford was able to hang on a second, but that 4th and 5th place driver there, Fonseca and Cochran, they were making big moves.
And driver back on the lead lap, GT Irizarry as well for the 14 machine with that pass going around. He'll be starting at the end of the line. And again, the what ifs are going to be marching all over this 14 if he would have come into pit road. And I mean, Zach, that's the thing. We had a lot of drivers back in stage number 1 that decided not to come into pit road. That put a bunch of drivers one lap down off sequence, that put him in this tough task where Irizarry going to have to do a miracle run just like Tyler Dengler to move up front and potentially go for the win, but highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely. Definitely a miracle will need to be involved for that one, like you were saying. So tough breaks. It'll be what could have been. I think especially for that 14 team, they were running so well and just played the strategy wrong. I think a lot of drivers are going to come out of that situation and say, man, I really messed up that strategy when it came to picking what to do. And I look at someone like Danny Cochran. He took the opposite route. He took tires and had to take the wave compared to where Irizarry just took fuel along with Malik Kuntz. Both those drivers just taking fuel, and they couldn't take the wave. They had to come back down. So you got to applaud Danny Cochran for thinking ahead there and really making the most of it.
Making the most, getting where he can be at, and trying to do some new calculations on where drivers have to be, because there's not a lot of bonus points that can be grabbed at this point for drivers. For Ali Fonseca as well, for that of Cody Reed, what they have to do is finish in the top 8, and they are 100% locked in to the next round. As long as that of seeing GT, Tyler Dengler, and Noah Steele do not win this race. But a top 8 keeps those 2 drivers out of the fray, and they are the 2 closest to the bubble spot. So Zach, I mean, it's simple for both of them. Cody Reed currently in 9th place.
We'll see how it works out. I mean, we see Noah Steele there. He was getting aggressive. He definitely is willing to risk it here because he knows what he has to go up here and do. So drivers like Reed, drivers like Fonseca, they know they just need to be smart here to the end and get a good points night out of Homestead, and they could come back into the round of 12 and have a chance to battle it out for that next round. And, it's going to be one of those times where drivers are going to have to be willing to risk things, and that's when sometimes those mistakes rear their ugly head, and we could see a mistake leading to someone getting their chances taken away here. But with next week at North Wilkesboro and Nashville Super Speedway up ahead of us in this next round, drivers are going to have to do everything in their power to try to get there to have a chance to go fight for a championship at Charlotte later in a few weeks.
If you thought tonight was crazy last season, the next race we are heading to North Wilkesboro, there were hot tempers, intentional wrecks, and it forced drivers to miss out on the Final 4. Short track racing, you won't want to miss it next week. North Wilkesboro. The week after that, Nashville Super Speedway. It was the season finale of the regular season for these drivers last season, where we got to see Cedric Hunter get into victory lane. He's not racing anymore in the playoffs, so who could take the crown at Nashville? We'll have to find out in the next 2 weeks, as that will be the round of 12. Tonight, though, we've got ourselves a 5-lap dash. If we get a caution before the white flag, we head into overtime. Otherwise, Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford, they've been the top 2 up front since the halfway marker. Can they continue on this run? Who's going to get the glory? Into the Geico restart zone. We're green for the pretty Southern colors, 225, and Mark Whitley once again is gone.
Great start from the 77 up front. It was a tough start for Christopher Norris, who was right behind him. Sometimes when you start in that 3rd position, that's the preferred spot to be in other than 2nd, but he's going to be fighting for Fonseca now down the back straightaway, as it's going to be Nick Crawford trying to close it down as they're going to be coming to 4 to go next time. Can someone challenge the 77?
Who is going to make the push to go forward right now? Drivers taking it easy. Up front, Mark Whitley just trying to keep on the inside groove. Keep any contenders behind the best that he can. Ollie Fonseca, though, very aggressive on that last push. Will he be willing to go to the outside lane? As they go down into turn number 1, both going to see the 74 and the 24 sticking to the outside, trying to find the big run. Danny Cochran not able to hold his lane as he's trying to find a little bit of maximum speed off the exit 2. Onto the backstretch. It's the drag strip. Who's going to find the speed? And it's side-by-side racing for 5th place.
Side by side, and look at this Fonseca sticking it up the inside there on Nick Crawford, and there was almost contact between them two. Luckily for Crawford, he hangs on, and now he's going to be within a shot here. Is this going to be 3 to go? Is it starting to stack up in the up front for the field?
Up front, holding steady. Nick Crawford trying to find his spacing as that slight contact hurting more the 24. Nick Crawford, though, he is. It looks like Zach is just stay to the outside, find the speed. 3 to go onto the backstretch.
3 laps to go, like you said there, into 3 and 4. Here comes the dive from Crawford to the inside of the 74, and it's starting to heat up. This is going to give a chance. If they get side by side and the 24 has a run and the 77 gets loose, they're both loose.
Holding on, it's going to be Nick Crawford, who is more sideways than the other. As it's going to be, you see Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford bringing in Ollie Fonseca, Danny Cochran, John Forbes, all in the fray. 2 laps to go. And if Nick Crawford, once again, he's setting up for turns 3 and 4, trying to get to the inside, but it's all about this run out of 2.
Let's see how the run works here. Fonseca's got a great run on him. He can't open up the outside too much as the 24 now going to dive it out there, and he's going to stick it on the quarter panel of this 74, but the 74 going to have the run through the center, and here we go, Sam. This is where the money's paid.
Here we go. At a turn number 4, we keep it green somehow. It's your Larry Art Productions white flag. 2 drivers setting up. How do they attack the 77 of Mark Whitley, the most dominant driver of the night? It's been the 77 at a turn number 2. Nick Crawford sliding up, finding the momentum as he's going to defend Ollie Fonseca. Ollie diving down low, not able to get to the quarter panel of the 77, but here we go. Down into turn number 3. Ollie trying to get to the quarter panel. He couldn't. Nick Crawford open to see the 74. 24 slide, it won't! Contact for 3rd, 2nd, but it's the 77 winning here and locking into the next round.
Wow, what a finish as they're wrecking across the line. Nick Crawford holds on to 2nd, Fonseca in 3rd, Forbes 11th, and Cochran in the 5th position as it was 4 trucks stacked up from 2nd on back, and Mark Whitley loved what he saw in the mirror.
He certainly did, and it was one of those things where if Ollie Fonseca had slid up faster up into that 2nd, 3rd groove, maybe Nick Crawford could have slid under and would have been a dramatic slice and dice between those two. The timing didn't work out. Instead, the dominator up front, Mark Whitley, continues on his spree of wins, and the 77, I mean, Zach, you look at past seasons, it's always the cutoff race. The 77 finds himself in victory lane.
He's continuing that trend for sure, Sam, and he wants that to be the final cutoff race there, that championship one. That's what he wants to change it up to be, but what an excellent job. I mean, he had probably one of the biggest woes we've seen on that pace lap to start the race, almost ruining his day, but he comes back from it and puts himself in victory lane.
I mean, taking the shades of Cedric Hunter, who won this race last season, spin out, come back, dominate the win, is the 77. Well, win number 5 of the season goes to Mark Whitley as he gets to burn it down. We'll step aside. When we come back, we're going to have some interviews with our top 2 and another driver to get their thoughts on tonight. Welcome back. It's the post-race show of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series, the cutoff race to see who's moving on to the round of 12. Well, tonight we got to see a spectacular run where Mark Whitley, 5th win of the season, and he continues to show out why he is the favorite to watch out for into the playoffs. Mark, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Man, you locked yourself in before this race even started, and you come away with a win like that. How are you feeling after that one?
Well, it feels familiar since last year. I think we won all the cutoff races, so it just kind of feels natural at this point. I mean, the race went pretty good. We pulled strategy at the beginning of the race. I honestly thought more people would pit than that didn't, and that pretty much set us up the rest of the race. And we just kind of were on cruise control. And then toward the end there, Nick was giving us a run for our money. I know that second run, I pulled out a big gap, and I think I was just pushing it a little bit too hard. I think the track changed a little bit, and I wasn't keeping up with the track, and I just pushed it a little bit too hard, and it got a little tight, and he started catching me a little bit, but then he pitted it up for us, and we had to get back around him. And I'm not really sure how it would have happened if it went green. I think me and him were pretty even there, and he was only about half a second behind me, so I think it'd have been a good race regardless. And I think the cautions kind of played out in our favor. I'm pretty good on short run speed, so I was able to kind of just drive it like I stole it. And I was telling Nick and Ollie, they scared the crap out of me a couple times when they were dove bombing into 3 trying to get up under me just to get a nose there. And it about freaked me out a couple times. I'm like, holy crap, I didn't realize they were that close. And it worked out, thankfully, but it was a little bit more nerve-wracking than I would have wanted.
It definitely was there, Mark. I tell you, man, congrats on the win. Another cutoff race for you there. And, it's started off a little shaky, too. Take us through that pace lap there at the very beginning. And did you have to deal with any damage on the nose there? Because for us, it looked like you had a little bit.
Yeah, I really have no idea. Like this track, like especially 1 and 2, it feels like it's got oil slick when you're on cold tires. And I was being a little aggressive trying to get heat in the tires, but I didn't think I was doing anything like overtly like, dangerous or anything. And all of a sudden it was like I stepped on a piece of ice or stepped in some oil slick or something, and it just looped around. And I was like, before I even knew it, I was facing backwards. And I'm like, what just happened? I clipped Danny, but thankfully neither one of us really had damage. I think when I pitted the first time, I didn't have any damage at all. So if there was any, it must have just been cosmetic. Thankfully he didn't have any either. So thankfully that was a crisis averted there on the pace lap. That's one of the weirdest things I've ever had happen, because it was just like, I still don't even know how it looped like that. It was like it felt like when the ARCA car, when you get jacked up and you get spun around that quick. That's what it felt like. Just felt like the tires were in oil for all of a sudden. And I have no idea what happened, to be honest with you.
Well, you still come away with the win, Mark, and now we're heading into some tracks where we're seeing you have wicked speed at North Wilkesboro, as well as heading to Nashville Super Speedway. How are you feeling heading into this next round of the round of 12?
Yeah, I feel pretty confident. Getting a win tonight, that's some extra bonus points, and winning the stage, I think that's also a bonus point. So, trying to stack all these bonus points up and get as good of a cushion as we can, just in case. It's a short track. We won Wilkesboro last year, but there's no guarantee, especially short tracks. You get caught up in somebody else's mess real quick there. So, just trying to get as big of a buffer as we can, finish as high as we can, and maybe we can go win another race or two. Because I know, like I said, last season we got on the roll in the playoffs. I think we won 3 or 4 races in the playoffs. So hopefully we can continue that and maybe make one of the ones we win the championship race.
Oh, I hope to see some more magic from you, Mark, as you've been so dominant. Congratulations on your 5th win of the season. And before we let you go, the floor is yours, like we've heard 4 times though this season, for any shout-outs.
Oh yeah, shout out Brantley over at Harpoon Design. He put together this awesome playoff paint scheme. Didn't get to run up front as much as we wanted to last week, but that was the Ferrari strategist. We fired him. We fired that brain cell this week, so we hired a good one tonight. So shout out for Brantley putting on doing a great job spotting tonight. I know he once we got in clean air, he didn't have a lot to do, but he was keeping me informed on lap time, so I appreciate him. And he does awesome work over at Harpoon Design. So if you want to check him out, go to his website. He's got a form you can fill out. Request a paint scheme. He gets back to you usually same day. I think he might kill me for saying that, but he's pretty quick in getting back with people. So check him out. And another shout out to my teammate John. I know he had a rough start. He had some controversial contact early in the race, and I'm not going to say anything about it because I haven't seen the replay or anything, but when he said he got kind of dumped for no reason. So hopefully that gets looked at, and hopefully he can come out here and have a good finish. I know Wilkesboro is one of his favorite tracks. He likes running there, so hopefully he can rebound and get a good finish out there. And shout out to you guys putting on a broadcast. I always say it, but it's one of the better broadcasts on iRacing. It's always fun to rewatch. Especially when ones you win, it's fun to go back and just see how the rest of the field was doing. And shout out for the league. I mean, other than that, really quick caution on like lap 1 or 2, we had like 2 other cautions all race and it went pretty much green, which that's kind of what worked out in our favor. We just went green. So shout out to everybody. Awesome talent all the way through the field. Hopefully we can keep it up and keep these races clean and green.
We hope to see that as well. Congratulations, Mark, once again, and good luck in the next round of the playoffs.
Thanks, Sam.
Well, as we go from our victory lane, let's go to second place to a driver that's also going to be moving on to the next round of the playoffs. We got Nick Crawford with us. Nick, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. Congratulations on second. We know you probably wanted to see this race go green with how close you were, but man, how are you feeling coming away with second?
Well, first of all, hi guys. It's nice to talk to you. That means I did good or something noticeable. So, yeah, I definitely wanted it to go green. I was definitely catching him little by little, especially before the pit stop. And then after that, after I pit right before him, I came out. Mark said he took it a little easy going into pit road too. And I just wanted to make him work as hard as he could to get past me and burn up some tire. And then I wanted to just keep it within half a second and then just try and catch him back up. And then caution came out, and I told Norris it's probably my fault because I said there's probably going to be a caution, and I knocked on wood, but I guess that doesn't work. So, but second place is not bad.
That is not, Nick. And man, what a recovery too after that first incident there with you down into turn 1. I mean, this had to be a good turnaround for you over the night.
I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It's almost like it felt like oil or like ice. iRacing released rain early or something because I had no issues at all. And then lap 1 on the start, just turn into the corner and it just over rotates. It felt like my tires were just really hot or something. I don't know. And then I was so lucky to not get hit. Everybody did a great job, and I tried to keep it out of the wall, out of the cars, out of the track, and it just worked out and almost ruined it again with that pit strategy in the stage. I ran out of gas halfway around the cooldown lap for the stage, but it all worked out.
That it did. It worked out. You getting second place. You're moving on to the next round, and Nick, these next couple of races, we got going to North Wilkesboro as well as Nashville Superspeedway. How are you feeling about these next 2 races in the round of 12?
Not great. I've never really had fun at Nashville. It seems to be a one-line track. I think it's concrete, so that'll be fun. And then the other track, Wilkes. Yeah, I didn't really have much fun there either. But we're gonna practice and we're just gonna aim for top 5s, and I think we'll be okay.
That's a good number to aim for. Nick, congratulations on second. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, as always, I just want to shout out my beautiful wife. She's amazing. I'm gonna go hang out with her right after this. Shout out to my teammates Norris and then the Revline guys. They do help a lot, especially Norris with his play-by-play. And then shout out to you guys for doing such a great job showing all these cool moves and finishes here on Freaky Fest.
Well, thank you very much. That's going to be Nick Crawford in the 74 coming away with second place finish. Congratulations and good luck into the next round.
Hi, Mom.
As that's going to be Nick Crawford, second place runner. Let's go to third place now. Biggest mover of the night and comes away with a third place finish. Ollie Fonseca with us. Ollie, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. Congratulations. You're now on to the round of 12.
Hell yeah. Sweet redemption, brother.
That it really was, Ollie, man. Congrats on making it into the round of 12. And I mean, you getting knocked out last season, you had a heck of a run, even though you were outside of the playoffs. How does it feel now that you're going to be in it? And, I think you got some good tracks coming up for you too here in this next round.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident about it. North Wilkesboro, finished second there last season. So Definitely looking forward to going there. And then Nashville got a nice and easy top 10 there last season when we went. So I'm pretty confident about it. But yeah, I'm just happy to make it this far. Honestly, that was the biggest goal for me, was to just get improve from last season. And I wish I could have done it in a less stressful way. It just seemed like the whole night tonight we were kind of behind the ball on pitch strategy, and somehow it all just kind of came together the last few laps and worked out. So.
Well, let's talk about those last couple of laps. You were putting yourself in a situation almost able to take second place away. What was going through your nerves in those last two restarts, trying to go for the best finish possible?
A lot. I was. It sucks because you really want to win the race, but at the same time, like, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, man, if I throw away my chance making the next round by doing something stupid to try and win this race, I'll never forgive myself. So Brandon's telling me just keep it easy, we're gonna make it in where we're at right now, so don't worry about it. And I tell him, all right, sounds good, just try to see what we can get here and don't be greedy. Well, that first restart, I somehow ended up 4 wide going into turn 3, and that was a change of underwear for sure. But yeah, we survived that, and it was fun. I was just glad to be able to finally use the high side and rip the fence. I didn't get a chance to do that all night up until that point, and I had practiced for it and I knew how to do it. It just wasn't until the very end of the race that I finally got to make up some ground and run that line. So that was really exciting.
Well, you certainly did make up the ground. You're going to come away as the biggest mover of the night, up 13 positions from where you qualified. Congratulations on that. Before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shoutouts.
Yeah, absolutely. Just all the people watching, grandparents, parents, thank you guys for all the support. I'm so thrilled to make to the next round. It's unbelievable, man. Brandon, every week he just does exactly what I need him to do, and I'll always appreciate him for it. And obviously you guys for putting this whole thing on the ISRC. I'm ready to get after it and try to make the round of 8 here.
Well, congratulations once again, Ollie, and good luck into the next round. Next destination, North Wilkesboro.
Thank you, sir.
As that is going to be our 3 drivers that finished in the top 3 that we got to talk to: Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford, Ollie Fonseca. Let's take a look at where the rest of the field got to finish, as, again, this was the cutoff race. Certain drivers had to finish up front. Some were in a must-win scenario. And all the drivers that were outside looking in did not finish where they needed to be, as everyone that was in the top 12 start of the night stayed exactly where they needed to be. Some little bit of movements here or there. Big bonus points grabbed by Mark Whitley and Trenton Jump that both will be moving on to the next round, and with their wins having a slight advantage into that round of 12. But here's where our top 10 are going to be. Mark Whitley taking the victory, Nick Crawford second, Ollie Fonseca third, John Forbes fourth, Danny Cochran in the 2 Machine takes 5th, Christopher Norris 6th, 7th, Ethan Smith, Dakota Moniz 8th, Matt Upbrook another top 10 for the 15 and 9th, and taking that 10th place position, Cody Reed.
Yeah, and as we look through the rest of the order here, Sam, I mean, just some tough finishes for a few guys. The one that stands out, Noah's still there in 13th. Not going to be able to make it through to the next round. GT Rosari, Malik Kuntz there in 12th and 14th. Those two were contenders for the possible win here tonight. They're going to finish outside the top 10 due to bad pitch strategy. And as you look at the rest of them, I mean, guys like Kanata out in the race early, between him and Jonathan Smith getting into their little spat. And yeah, I mean, it just shows you got to be able to get to the end of these races if you want to have any type of shot to get to that next round.
Next round, a lot of drama in the past have been at those tracks. North Wilkesboro, I mean, Zach, that's the big one that keeps on sticking out from last season, the intentional wreck between Trenton Jump and Ethan Smith. I mean, we could see similar drama build up. I don't think there's as much, intensity that is built up going into this race as last season, but you never know. Short tracks always seem to bring out the worst in drivers.
That they do. I would not be surprised if we come out of there with some type of little bit of a rivalry between somebody, because that track, first of all, North Wilkesboro, I'm so glad we have it on the sim, first of all. I mean, thank you to Dell Jr., iRacing, all the work they did to get that track scanned for us, and especially the 1987 version of it, and make it real life possible there. And the way that track works with the racing, you're fighting for the bottom, and you're entering a lot of times up high and then dropping low. It creates those situations where you run into drivers, and those spats and a little bit of rivalries can start to brew themselves up. So wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. As this time it's not a cutoff race, but it is part of the playoffs once again, and I think it's going to be an excellent show for us to watch once again here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting with these guys on Monday night.
Cannot wait for it. Well, here are the 12 drivers moving on throughout the playoffs and still have a chance for the championship. Winning tonight, going to be that of Mark Whitley in the 77. In the 46, it's Trenton Jump after winning last week at the Daytona Road Course. Danny Cochran, Ethan Smith, Logan Brakey, Nick Crawford, John Forbes, Christopher Norris, Matt Upbrook, Ollie Fonseca, Dakota Moniz, and Cody Reed are the 12 drivers that will move on in the playoffs. The 4 calling it a night. They will not be running for a championship anymore. If they do run, it's going to be just for wins and pride. GT Rosari, Tyler Dangler, Noah Steele, and Joshua Kanata. We look at the past, Zach. I mean, for Noah Steele, a final 8 driver that made it so far was kind of the Cinderella story of last season. You hate to see him be knocked out so early in the playoffs.
You do hate to see it. I mean, it's tough. I mean, we've had all 4 of those guys is tough. First off, I mean, it's just a situation where I think all 4 of them had a chance to even go into that round of 8. I mean, it's very possible that we could have seen them, and it just shows you how stout and competitive it is here at ISRC and how close their competition is. And that you can only applaud the league and all the drivers out there competing in it, man. So I can't wait to see what happens in North Wilkesboro next week to build into that action North Nashville Super Speedway, because we cut it down to 8. It's only will get harder and harder each time to cut those 4.
It certainly is. For other leagues, they're still trying to march and set the stage for who's going to be in their playoffs. That's going to be tomorrow night for the Full Send Racing Series. They are racing in race number 13 at Darlington. A couple more still races to go before their playoffs start up. But a league that is going to be starting their playoffs, it's Wednesday night, the Wicked Racing League, ready to start their show on 12 drivers hunting for a championship. That all starts at Charlotte. Then on Thursday, it's going to be the Stars and Stripes Arcus cars as they have their final race of the regular season. Talladega, win and you're in for 5 different drivers. I cannot wait for that storyline to be set up and who will be setting in to the playoffs for that series on Thursday. Saturday, still in the regular season, but another super speedway. Talladega for the WSSR Rosa Gens Cup Series. Zach certainly got some great action setting up for the rest of the week.
That we really do, Sam. I cannot wait to see it all play out. And for anybody out there wanting to join us here up at the Freaky Fast family and watch those other great leagues that we have here paying us alongside Monday nights here, you can hit that subscribe button and tune in with us every time. And if you hit the bell notification button, you'll be notified when we go live for each of those weeks. So it's definitely something I encourage anybody out there who enjoys sim racing or just being a part of the Freaky Fast family and hanging out with us on your weeknights and weekends. So definitely check that out. And man, we got a great time here because all the playoffs are right here.
Great finishes, great drama, and other great content. Top 5 finishes of the month. I got a feeling this week might be the start of a couple of them that could end up on that April list. As well, the Cool Down Lap podcast, episode 3, expected to come out here in the next week or 2. So plenty of content to subscribe for. But for us here tonight, thank you for watching the cutoff race of the round of 16 for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. The pretty Southern Colors 225. It was the 77 of Mark Whitley getting the win and getting some bonus points to head into next round as it's next week. North Wilkesboro. Cannot wait for it. But if you want more racing action, it's tomorrow night is our next Freaky Fast broadcast.